How is everyone doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, doing good.
Yep.
How are you, James?
Can't hear you anymore. Nope.
What about now? Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yep. Loud and
There we
clear.
go. It's always these tricky mic. There we go. Cool. What you guys people are loading on today? We are going to be covering the basics of hiring a contractor today and some paperwork and kind of going over that. It sounds like a lot of people have been kind of working on building out their teams, vetting people, struggling with some things. And so we kind of wanted to do just a quick recap of like vetting, how to check people out, and then kind of go through a little bit of the paperwork again, and just things that you guys want to do before you hire these contractors. Because I will say, you guys, contractors can make or break your deal fairly quickly. If you hire the wrong one, it's like quicksand. Um, and so we're going to do a couple weeks of this where we'll talk about, some of the topics you're going to be including, like, hey, did you hire the wrong contractor? Are you in too deep with them? How do we get rid of them and move them on in the right way? Um, because at some point, you guys, I, and I don't like to give you guys bad promises, but you're going to hire the wrong person. It's just don't matter what it is, or the guy that you've known or the gal that you've known for years that has been great, all of a sudden becomes not great real fast. And so I have countless stories about this. And it's just part of the game, unfortunately. It's like the market changes sometimes, and sometimes people go bad. And so we're going to jump into this fairly quickly because I want to kind of go through the paperwork. And then, and again, you guys, Tuesday calls, any questions you got, we're going to talk about. But if really think about what are you struggling with contractors right now? When we open this up, like whether it's getting into the quote things or not wanting to sign the agreement or establishing whatever the issues that we're having, because it is that important middle piece. Just let's bring this up on the call because I guarantee you, if you're having the issue, everyone's having the issue, or I've had the issue. These are not new problems. These are problems that are always on repeat. And so I'm going to give it a couple more minutes to kind of breathe it through. Well, I'll tell you a story as we're waiting, guys. Yeah, it's like here's a good example why you got to check. And we'll talk about this, how to verify your contractors, because I'm dealing with something right now where we hired a general contractor, and I've known this guy for years, 10 years probably, um, and does good work for the most. I mean, for a flip contractor, we gotta manage him for sure. But it's so we went through, sold a house. We did a pre-inspection on the house, because I'm a firm believer. I just like to get every item on the list and let's fix it. Um, and so we went through the pre-inspection. Buyer was interested in the property. They waived inspection, and they were using our pre-inspection as their inspection as a punch list. Now, one thing I would say is that's never a good idea for a buyer. A buyer should always hire their own third-party inspector, but some brokers advise it. I don't know why, but it's so we went through it. We paid the guy for all the work. He had to go through and fix his items, and then guess what? He didn't fix all the items. And the guys did a good do, but he delegated it to his guys, and they didn't fix the items. And so what happened is it kind of snowballed out there, and no one called us because we would have held the guys accountable. And then the new buyer hires some other contractor, rips it apart, and they give him $100,000 invoice for this work that was probably $3,000 worth of work. And now, and I haven't had this in a long time, I got a lawsuit, or a threat of a lawsuit. And it's not that we actually did our job. We disclosed all the things that we saw wrong. We hired someone to fix them. But what we didn't do right, and it won't really matter in this situation, but and now we're doing this with our team, is our, my broker and project manager went and checked on it when we should have had the home inspector verify it was done, a third party, because then it falls back on us a little bit. Now, granted, this whole thing's bogus and it doesn't even really make sense whatsoever. And so the items that really weren't verified were some insulation in the attic, which is maybe $300 worth of insulation and one heat vent. And so, but we have to deal with it, right? And luckily we have a construction contract, we have an invoice, we have a paperwork, we have his bond information. We sent that all over. We have all of our communication, and we can comfortably tell these buyers, not that we even like to do this, but we can tell them to kick rocks because it's like, well, you should have called us. We would have fixed the issue because they do have a responsibility to do that. Um, and honestly, I'm kind of digging on my heels because the bid they gave me is a complete joke. That the property was completely rewired, but they have an invoice for a new rewire, so it doesn't make any sense. Or the panel had some arcing from the previous homeowner that had been addressed, and they said, well, the panel had to be replaced, but it's not, wasn't on pre-inspection, wasn't on any, it just, they just called it, right? So, but it's really important to verify the guys, and it doesn't matter how well I know this guy, at the end of the day, he just did not do his job all the way through. And so, and it's unfortunate, it creates a mess, and I haven't had one of these in probably 15 years. And at the end of the day, nothing will happen because our paperwork's right and we're doing the right thing. But that's why these processes are important in checking people out. And so we did invite the buyer, said they can go after the contractor's bond if they want. And so, but we'll kind of go from there. So you guys, paperwork's important. The more paperwork you have, the easier it is to explain a situation. So, but we're going to pull this up right now. We're going to jump right into this. And then anything you guys contractors related, let's focus on that. But again, anything that you got that's jamming you up for the week, we can talk about it. All right. Let me get this PowerPoint up. There we go. We got more people signing in. I will say, guys, contractors will be the most stressful thing of your lives. They will stress you out like crazy. But the tighter the paperwork, the more we vet them, the less they're going to stress you. So let me get this thing shared. Drew says, I used my your advice, pulled the project from a contractor who kept lying to me. He was pissed, but I couldn't be a fool. Listen, just all right. So Drew, we're gonna talk about that afterwards, though, because pulling the contractor, you guys, it's important when we fire a contractor, and that will be a topic. How do we move on from people? Because you want to do it in the right way, because you can get leaned. So you want to do it always in the right way. And again, why I'm such a big advocate of contracts. Okay, so we're gonna pull this up. Here we go. All right. So let's dig into this. All right. So contractors tonight, guys. We're going to dive right into it. Um, Basics, like through Project Flip, we talk a lot about how to find contractors, how to source them. And if you're struggling to find them, I want you to please revisit section 2 and 3 of Project Flip, where we talk about how to find more guys through permit tracking, driving for dollars works, going to trade warehouses. All our little tricks are in there, and that's literally how we find guys. So, revisit that. But what do you do? And this is what I want to kind of recap is when you find that new contractor, and it happens often, you guys, people call in and they try to get work from us all the time too. I will say most of the time when people are tracking me down to get work, it's usually not a good thing. Um, and so, or it's been almost 100% miss on those when they call in. And so when we're out finding them, we find the body, but then how do we find out if the body's, if there's someone that we want to hire, right? There's, especially depending on the state that you're in. I could say for all the investors in Washington, it is an absolute joke to become a contractor. You need no qualification. You basically need a checkbook and you can sign a document and you are a contractor ready to go. Arizona, a lot harder process to go through it. And so depending on what your state's regulations are, I'd say Washington has some of the worst regulations on it. Um, areas like California, Arizona, New York, they have a lot more regulations. So in theory, they have to do a lot more to get their work. Um, but the first thing that we want to do when we meet any sort of contractor, electrician, plumber, general contractor, is we want to check their license and bond through L&I. Okay, so every state has an L&I website. You can check your contractors by inputting in a search function. They have contractor lookup. If you just want to look, if you put in Los Angeles contractor lookup, it will pull a portal for you, and you want to check their information. So you can check a contractor by their license. You can check it by their name of their company, but you also can check it by their name. And I like to check it by their name too as a search because it pulls up additional companies if they ever had them. And so the first thing we want to do is make sure they are licensed and bonded. So as you guys can see, this is a copy of one of our licenses. Um, in here, you can see the bond account number. You can see when the application was received by L&I and when the effective date was, and it tells us what the bond information is. So I know that they have an active bond and insurance. The insurance is underneath that. It also tells me what their license number is and who the owners are of of the business and whether their status is active or not. I will say, because I have dealt with this with L&I before, it is your responsibility as the investor to check up to make their license to make sure that their license is active before you hire them on every individual job. I ran into a problem one time where I hired a contractor for probably 12, 14 jobs. Um, was fine. And then all of a sudden, one of our job sites we had checked his license and bond a few times. It was fine. And then we got shut down on a job site. And then we get a letter from L&I saying you hired unlicensed people. And we're like, what are you talking about? And we pull up their status and it's no longer active anymore. And it had expired like 45 days before we had hired them. But we had had them 12 times before, all active. Now, luckily, because we were able to show that, L&I was very nice about it. And they just gave us like a very small little $250 fine and we moved on, right? And they called it good. And we had a construction contract and everything was signed around. Now, it is our responsibility to check it every time. If, according to L&I, if you don't check it, it's not active, it's on you and you can be fined for that. And so just always, always check that, especially guys, because you want to make sure that they contract, if you hire them and it's not active, that means their bond is not going to cover you on that job. And so you don't want to sign a contract or bid while it's in inactive status. You want to make sure it's active. So you can search by company name, you can search by the person's names, and you always want to do this with L&I no matter what. You want to talk to two references. If they say they work for investors, hey, can you give me their names? Now, one thing you will run into is some contractors will be like, I don't know if they're going to like me working for somebody else. They're a little slow right now. I don't want to get, I do a lot of work for them. And I'll take that as a valid excuse sometimes. But if I don't have that, I get addresses for the properties that they've worked on. And I need to be able to verify that they have a permit or that they actually have proof of working on that job site because I have had contractors send me addresses that they never worked on, but they had very shiny pictures. And then randomly, I remember this one time this guy sends me an address and I pull it up. I'm like, oh, that's my buddy's property. And so I call him up. I'm like, hey, what's the story on this guy? He reached out to me, he wants work. He's like, I don't know who that is. I was like, but he sent me this address and he's like, dude, I have no idea who did this. This contractor did this. And the guy was just making up the whole thing. And it turned out he was just a laborer guy for one of the general contractors on site. And then he spun off and started his own company. And it turned out his old general fired him off the job site for not showing up, too. And so you always want to verify, guys, right? That is our job as the investor. Verify the people, but verify the performance. We want to verify this information. You want to look for past businesses or claims against the person. And that's really important, right? Do they have any violations? When were the violations? What were the violations over? And you guys, they will have them. Like some guys will get electrical violations. And I want to be able to call that contractor, say, hey, I see this on here. What's going on with that? What happened? And either they're going to give me a straight answer saying, hey, well, the homeowner told me not to pull a permit. We got popped for electrical and it was a pain in the butt and we had to unwind it and get it finished. And that's just what happened. I can use that as an answer. I'll take that. If it's something where there's other complaints going on, or it's a safety issue, or they have numerous no permit strikes against them. That's something I'm going to be cautious of. And so those are things that you want to look for, and I'll show you in a second where that's kind of located. And so always look at what's their past businesses and do they have any claims under their name, their past businesses. And if I see a contractor has numerous businesses, I will put in theirs and look for any types of violations on that. And you guys taking this 2 minutes to check these things can save you a world full of headaches. So again, you get their information, you go to your L&I website, you do a contractor lookup, you put in their name, their company name, and it will pull their information, just like you see right here. Now, how we verify when we have this information, there's things that I'm looking for when I am starting to hire a contractor. So, how long has their license been active is a big one for me. How long have they been in business? If it's been 12 months, why had they only had a company for a year? Maybe they're brand new, and that's okay. Those are good guys to hire sometimes. But where did they work before? And did they have any other companies? And so the nice thing about ONI search website is you can go in and so under this Limelight Development, it's our company that's our main building company now, where our insurance is, so that we pull up as general contractors. You can see when we hit past and related licenses, have we ever owned, any other types of businesses? And we have. Razor Investments was the name of our other construction company prior to Limelight. And the effective date on that was 2010 to 2022. And the effective date for the license for Limelight here, you can see, is effective in 2022. And so that tells me a story, right? They were in business for a while. They shut that business down. Then they started a new one. And it allows me to ask that question going, hey, look, so I see you guys were in business for 12 years and then you started a new brand. Can you tell me a little bit about that? What happened? You know, our answer would be, well, hey, we actually don't do much work for the public and we're an investment company and we shut ours down every, 5 to 10 years or every 1 year because we like to restart every year. But we want to know what the story was. Maybe it was a partner they split off from. Maybe it's, um, you know, we want to make sure it's a valid reason. Oh, hey, our company was set up this way before I started it when I was 22 years old. We switched to this company because now we have a new website. We wanted to be more public facing, and this is our new brand. Razor Investments wasn't very shiny, it wasn't very nice sounding for consumers. So we switched to Limelight Development. And so that's an answer that I can deal with there. And so that's what we're looking for is what were their past companies? What were their facts? And then I can then search this old company and see if there's any other claims. Now you can see here, it says no strikes have been issued against contractor. No debarments have been issued against. Those are things that we want to see, right? There's been no violations they haven't taken away from. And as you're kind of going through this, guys, if you're seeing this, like if I see someone's name and they have 10 different companies they're attached to, that's kind of a red flag. It smells weird to me. Or if their contractor's license is in Spokane and they're calling me here, I'm like, well, why are you here? And your license was set up in a different, like, 4 hours away. Like, what happened there? And so the dates and the names are going to tell you a story. And if you start to see too many stories, my advice is just to move on because it doesn't really make sense. It's kind of like when I'm looking to hire someone, and if it's someone that has switched jobs 9 times in 10 years, I'm gonna be like, okay, this isn't really making sense of what like it's hard for me to hire that person because they might not want to stay. Um, and so does it make sense? Are they active? Is it current? Do they have any violations? Now, after we vet them and we go through and we estimate the house, and we're going to be breaking some of that down in the next couple of weeks too, like negotiating tactics, how to kind of prevent. I'm going to go over some of my tips for how to like jam in extra things and staying in budget. But after we walk it and we decide to move forward with them, then there's paperwork that we need to always collect. And you guys, this will save you a lot of time down the road. The first thing is we want to make sure that we have their license and bond information. If for some reason I can't get a copy of their bond on the LNI website, which can happen for sometimes, they have to send me proof of insurance and the bond before we'll issue that first check. If we do not have that, we will not issue a check because getting it later can be a total nightmare to get. You guys, holding money is the best way to get paperwork signed. I'll tell you that much. Then we want to make sure that we have a W-9 tax information. Again, best time for people to sign this is when they're picking up their first check. So we have an SOP written for our accountants that anytime they're issuing a new check to a new entity in QuickBooks, no one can pick up. The check is not mailed out. They have to come in for pickup. They're notified for pickup, and they have to come sign their W-9 and pick up their check at the same time. In our SOP, we will not mail out checks if it's their first job with us and we do not have a W-9. And so if you implement that process, it's a lot easier to get these things done. We want to always make sure that we have their mailing and home address because sometimes they're not valid addresses on these contractors' license. It could just be a random PO box and they switch PO boxes. We want to know if there's any sort of issue that we know where to deliver that message to. You guys in construction and real estate, there is litigation. I can say very rarely have we ever had to deal with it, but it happens. And if you need to talk to someone, like I had to talk to this contractor about his work, I need to be able to get a hold of them just in case we need to send them any kind of request or legal document at that point. And so always have that information. Another reason I like to have their home address is I have had guys disappear with my checks and I went to their house and I chatted with them. I don't advise that, but that's what I did. Um, and they came back to work after we chatted. So I like to know where they are, where they're going to be, because at the end of the day, we are issuing them payments and down payments. Um, and then optional things that we do like to collect if we can is have they made their quarterly payments in their tax payments. And the reason we like to verify that is because we have had times where we've had big roofing companies that we've hired out. They've been working a lot for us. And then all of a sudden we get a letter from the state IRS going, they owe money, do not issue any more payments to them. And and there, there is a rule, you guys, if you make payments to people that are delinquent on their taxes, you can actually, on their sales tax payments, you can be responsible for your own sales tax and have to pay it twice, essentially. And so you want to make sure that they're paying their taxes and their sales taxes in. And so a lot of times we like to ask for proof of that from their accountant. And it does depend on who we're hiring to. Like if it's a bigger legitimate company, we always make them do it. If it's a little bit more mom and pops, we might give them a little bit of leeway at that point, especially if they've been in business for a while. But always want to pick up this kind of paperwork. So before hiring the contractor and you're having them sign the paperwork, you need to review the paperwork yourself. Just because you walk the property with the contractor, you talk about it on site together, you have phone calls about it on site, you've talked about it numerous times, does not mean it's inside your quote. It is our responsibility to review the quotes and look for missing items. It will happen. I make mistakes, people make mistakes, and sometimes they just don't put it down. And when we're signing the estimates in the bids, those are legally binding contracts, and verbal contracts are not going to work at that point. And so before you come in and you start issuing checks and signing all these agreements, review the quote, look for missing items. A good way to do that, guys, is in our property walkthrough checklist that we have in our tools. When we go through, we fill that out on our first walkthrough. I like to pull that form out and have it right next to it our scope of work. So as I'm going through their bid, I can make sure that everything's on there. Because I would say 75% of change orders that we deal with are things that just were not on bids that we just missed. And so always pull out their bid, reference it to your scope of work. And that will really, really help you. Just take your time. You don't need to rush and sign that contract in the next hour. Take a couple hours, read through it, make sure it's thorough. The more thorough it is, if you catch one item and it costs $1,000, guys, and you spend an hour doing it, that means you're making $1,000 an hour. Think of it that way. So make sure all the things are in there. Confirm that the license information and status are active. Review the estimate and make sure it is itemized, not a lump sum bid. So you guys, when we are getting quotes from contractors, the thing that we want to avoid is a big, long scope of work with one lump number at the very end. It's nice because everything's in there, it's inside your number, but what happens is that there's conflict or issues or some sort of dispute. There's no way to argue what's been paid. So, for example, if a contractor gives me a lump sum bid and at the bottom it says $100,000, that's the price to hire this contractor. I give that contractor 25,000 and he over demos the house, demos it, everything out. Then he stops showing up. And I'm going, you know what? You're not showing up. I got to get rid of you. You need to bring me back my money. I'm going to pay you for the demo and then we're parting ways. If the bid's not itemized, he can easily say, well, the demo was $25,000. And so every line item needs to be itemized with a dollar amount because if you get into a dispute with a contractor, and this is going to be one of our teaching lessons, like if we're letting a contractor go, how do we summarize that and percentage wise to kind of tally that up? It's kind of its own separate lesson. But if it's not itemized out, there's no way to dispute it. And so you always want to make sure that every line item is there. Flooring, cabinets, doors, trim, electrical. It needs to be spelled out with its own number and then summarized in. Once you've gone through the bids, you've made sure it's itemized, then you want to have the contractor sign a construction contract. And the construction contract is going to establish the timeline, stops, and start dates. Um, So here's a copy of the construction contract that's in your guys' success hub. Now, you guys, this thing is set up, and we've talked about this, is, each state's different. They have different regulations. Like right now, you guys, I just sent this over to an attorney in Arizona going, hey, can you check this to make sure this is going to work in this state? I can tell you that this contract cost me about 25% of your total membership just to make. It was about $2,500 contract we had made. And so it's a really good contract. It's very clear, it's very detailed, and it works if you use it, but you have to use it in the right way. And so the purpose of this construction contract, and I know you guys have been getting some pushback or questions about this, and that's what I want to talk about in the questions, like how do you get them to sign it? How do you make it a win-win? How do you deliver that message? But the purpose of the contract is to identify who does what in the project. For example, permits. Who's getting the permits? Is it the owner or is it the contractor? If the contractor's responsible for the permit cost and he's responsible for the permits, if L&I comes by and they stop by, there's no permits there and they try to find me, this contract actually will help me divert that over to the contractor. If the contractor we check contractor and the permits, that means his estimate is including all permit costs. We always write that in with the electrical. It'll say, here's the full scope of work with the electrical, including permit costs. So it allows us to also save money on the permits or allows you to kind of negotiate that out. And then talks about the lump sum payment. What is the price of the contract? And then what is the draw schedule that goes from there? So in this contract, guys, it talks about start date, finish date, how things are communicated in writing. And then it breaks down all the questions. The purpose of this contract is to clarify how the job site and how the payments are gonna go. And so it's really easy not to sign this contract when you're especially working with the same guy on repeat. I highly advise that you always have some sort of construction contract, and it is not their estimate. The estimate protects them. This protects you, and it also protects them from any sort of issues. And so when you fill out this contract, you always want to make sure that you are being clear with all the dates, who's handling what the numbers are, fill it out completely, have it signed. And then most importantly, you guys, this is a legally binding contract. And so you want to follow the protocols of what's inside this contract. So what it talks about in here is, for example, like on change orders, that everything must be done in writing and that no verbals will be accepted. So if I'm the investor and I'm directing the contractor verbally, I'm breaking my own contract if it's a change. I always want to make sure that I'm following it up with the same protocol in writing. Everything should be in writing when you're dealing with contractors in general. When you're filling out this contract and you establish the dates, put in the dates that work for you, but also work for the contractor. This is never telling them exactly what the date is. We come to an agreement between the two parties of how that is set. If the contractor tells me it's going to take 10 weeks to finish the job, I typically will write in 11 weeks on the contract. So I'm giving him an extra week there or her an extra week. Therefore, if they go over schedule, they really can't complain because I already gave them a week buffer in there. And so use this construction contract, you guys. It's very, very important that you do so. And then lastly, for paperwork, and then we're going to open it up, is once the the contract is closed, you want to have a lien release sign when the project is completed and you're issuing final payment. This will help you prevent lien issues later. It helps you dispute lien issues later if something comes up, because it acknowledges that the contractor's been paid in full and they are now saying we are releasing our rights to lien your property later. And you guys, this release of lien claim is not just for when they're finished, too. You want to have this when you're terminating with a contractor, too, and you guys are parting ways. Because in most states, the contractor is more protected than the homeowner with their construction laws and their consumer laws. And the contractor, you guys, unfortunately, can come in and say, "Hey, I worked on this job site. He owes me $5,000," even if they don't even have a contract. They can make that claim, and you have to deal with it. Or they didn't pay me in full. They still owed me money. Well, according to your bid and your estimate, we paid you in full. They can go, well, I went back and did these other items and it was this much money. They can make that claim and you have to dispute it. And it can slow down your deal. It can slow down. Um, they can put a lien on the property. It can cause issues with your closings. And many times the hard money cost is more than the claim. And so you just have to pay the contractor to go away. And so the release of claim, the release of lien is something that you always want to sign when they're having their final payment issued. Another thing is I always list final payment in the memo line of the check, because when the contractor's signing the claim notice, but they're also cashing that check, they are acknowledging that they have been paid in full and it's their final payment. And so typically I write in paid in full final payment on every memo line when it's their last check. Because by cashing it, they're acknowledging that that's true. And then always attempt, and this is hard, you guys, to get the general contractors, subcontractors to sign the lien right too, lien release. I will say you got about a 10% chance that's happening with a lot of general contractors in our space. But if we can, we know the electrician, we know the HVAC person, we have that signed off. One thing to get people to sign this off too, guys, is I just blame it on my bank and say, hey, look, I can't give you final payment. My bank won't give it to me, or my construction lender won't give it to me unless I can show this to them. So can we just get this signed? You've been paid in full, right? We're all good. Cool. Sign it. I'll get you your check. Because it is kind of standard protocol for a lot of banks. You guys, like commercial banks that do townhome development, that do business banking, a lot of them won't issue construction draws unless you're submitting them lien releases throughout the project. And so it is pretty standard for a lot of different types of construction lending. And so always get these things signed. And so again, you guys, the basics of what we're talking about tonight. We meet a contractor, we vet them, we check their license. How long have they been in business for? Do they have any claims? Do they have any past businesses? We need to look at those. Before we sign their estimate, we need to review their quote. Is everything in there? We have them sign the scope of work that we gave them, even though we just have them sign it because it has the allowances in there. So they're acknowledging the allowance page. We then verify their bond and license before we cut them a check. We have all their tax documents signed before they pick up that check. And most importantly, we have that construction contract signed that sets the rules for the control of the job site. You guys, when you have to let someone go, that contract is really going to help you because it tells everyone is signing this contract, acknowledging that this is the way the job site's going to go. And if the contractor doesn't do that and you document it, it's a lot easier to fire them and get rid of them at that point. And so anytime that you do have a contractor that's going a little off contract, they're not showing up, they're not following the protocol, you always want to send them an email warning them before you terminate. Say, hey, look, you signed this agreement. We agreed to these dates. You are not doing these things. We need to get back in contract on this. And the more you talk like that, and the more documented you are when you have an issue, the issues will go away a lot quicker or they're going to go on your side. I can tell you, I have had to pay contractors and it was a total fleece job before. And because we didn't have our paperwork right, we just had to pay the bill. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open it up. I just want to kind of go over the little details. Over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be kind of going over some, I know there's a lot of people getting into jobs right now. They're negotiating with contractors. They're dealing with change orders. They're dealing with different types of negotiating pricing on things. And we're really going to focus on that. I'm going to have a little session where you guys are going to bring in quotes on one of our calls where it's like, hey, what numbers do you have in problems getting down? Let's look at that quote. Let's break it down. Can we get it lower? Should it be lower? Or are we wrong here? And so I really want to make you guys kind of ninjas with negotiating this pricing down because the better we are at negotiating that cost and making it run smoother, the more profitable we are as flippers. Most of this business is not made on the buy, it's on the plan. And the plan means you need good people and a good process. So what I'm going to do now. Oh, look, Caleb, easy on us contractors. It's not the greatest profession. We have some contractors in the room, guys. If anyone wants to throw tomatoes at them. No, but you guys, there's great contractors out there, right? That's the cool thing about our community. Make sure you're talking to people because they will partner up with you too. Um, and Caleb, you're a general contractor. How many bad contractors do you meet every month? Is he gone? Oh, he's not on anymore. So, but anyways, let's open it up. Who's got construction problems, issues? Who wants to talk about it? Alex.
Hi. So I have a roofer who sent me his W-9, like proof of license and insurance, but on the license there's a different individual's name on there. So I don't know
Okay.
who this guy is. So what do you think is going on here?
Okay. So is it a brother or same last name or is it a different name or what's the story on that?
I didn't ask him, but I guess I just wanted to ask you before that. I know the roofing company is legit because I've seen them on permits. I just don't. And at first, he didn't want to give me the W-9. Like, I straight up told him I'm going to move on to someone else if he doesn't give it to me. And then I got it. So I don't know who he is,
So how did you
but
find him? Because it kind of sounds like he might be
yeah,
freelancing off this company.
that's what I think. So another contractor, first of all, no one's like a real general contractor here, but another contractor who's gonna give me a bid sent him to me.
Okay. So um I would just ask the guy, and you guys, that sometimes that's okay, right? Like, but we kind of want to know, well, A, I don't like it when they send me stuff. They're not telling me up front, but I do want to know, like, for example, I have an electrician that sometimes he'll let me borrow one of his guys just to hammer out some work. Cause he's like, don't worry about it, dude. Just go get what you need done and it's all good. Um, or I do have some electricians where I see the permit and they're like partnered up with another electrician. They're doing the work, and then that electrician comes out and checks their work for them. And it can be very affordable to do it that way sometimes. And as long as they're good people, I'm not too worried about it. And as long as the person checking them is actually checking them, and typically they are motivated because it's their license on the line. Um, but I would want to make sure that they were somehow included in the deal. And so I would just call the guy and say, hey, look, you're not on this company. Are you doing this freelance or are you doing this under your company? I'm just wondering because I need to know. Like, hey, and I'm not trying to get in your business, but I just need to know who I'm hiring. You gave me the license. Is this quote with the company name on it too?
Yeah.
And are you
Mm-hmm.
issuing the check to the company or to him personally?
That's what I asked him, and he said I can write it to the company name.
Okay, well, I would just ask him too. Are you an owner or is
Yeah.
he is an owner?
Oh, no, I don't know. I said, yeah, I'm gonna ask him. Sorry. I
Yeah, I would
don't
just,
know.
you guys just asking the direct question. It's just like, hey, I just wanted to make sure everything's on the up and up. Um,
Yeah.
I got your quote. I don't see associated. Can you tell me about the structure of the company? You a silent owner? You an owner? What is it? And he might be like, oh, well, it's actually under my brother's name or cousin's name for
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
purpose, right? Or one thing I would do, Alex, is check his name in L&I to see if he had a bunch of old other companies available too.
Okay. Okay.
Um, and so you definitely want to dig in, and then I would just ask the question. And it sometimes you guys the scenarios are a little weird, but as long as it checks out, it's fine. Like I was saying with that electrician that I use, you know, he runs under someone else's license.
Yeah.
He also works for the guy part, like, but in the agreement is that guy comes out, pulls the permits, he checks their work, and I'm okay with that because I know the owner of that company too. And so I feel like it's all on the up and up.
Okay. Yeah, they pulled my permit. I just don't know what the agreement is, but I'll ask them for more information.
Oh, they pulled the permit
Um,
too?
yeah, they've already applied for the permit for me.
Okay, so
Well,
one good
under the not his name, under the guy's name that's on the actual license. Like the
okay.
company name is on there, and then the guy who's on the
And
license
and yeah, if
is
they're
on
pulling the
there.
permit, they are licensed and bonded.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, I just would dig into that a little bit, but it's not too uncommon. He might be like, oh, well, we all kind of partner together down here on
Yeah.
that, and as long as it's going through the books, maybe it's okay, But I would just know what the situation is. As long as you know what the situation is, it's fine. If it's
Yeah.
not what they say it is, that's where it's weird.
Okay. I have another question, but I can wait until everyone's done. I got like a text message bid so far. So I've been trying to explain to this guy I need an itemized bid. Um, and we've been going in circles. So I was wondering like what's the best sheet to send him? Because I know we have this scope of work checklist and then there's like a budget sheet as well. But he like lumped all the labor together, lumped materials together, and there's a lot of lumping. Um,
And that's where it does get risky, you guys,
yeah.
because if the materials are lumped into one, like flooring, doors, trim, all that stuff's in one price, right? Like it's like 50 grand for materials.
Yeah.
It's up to him to go. So let's say you give him 45,000. He's like, well, hey, the front door cost $40,000. Or we don't know what's inside that quote, right? So you guys, if it's all in there, okay, that's fine. All the materials in there, but what materials does that mean? Am I getting 50-cent LVP flooring in here? Am I getting pre-finished hardwoods? Um, but also some of these guys have a purpose because they're just not good at creating estimates. They're great dudes. They're going to do what they say. And so what we have to do is we do sometimes map out the quote for them
Mm-hmm.
with the allowances. And so what I would do in that scenario, let's say you really like the guy, you're like, dude, he's just not good at computers.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll actually map the agreement out for them a little bit more, saying, hey, you're going to install, we use that scope of work page And then we can say, because it does break it down by rooms in there, and we'll say pre-finished hardwares in all these areas, and then we'll put the allowances next to it to where they're signing it. And then from there, we'll actually throw in just kind of itemized numbers next to those. And you can use your underwriting construction calc to almost pull those numbers out and just lump them together.
Okay. And I should get him to give me like specific install rates, right? Because right now he just gave me a huge number for worker labor and he keeps saying he has guys on payroll, but I don't see
Well,
how
he
that
doesn't have to give
matters.
those rates. Um,
Okay.
because we use that to negotiate sometimes, going like if the flooring it like it I guess the first question is this quote where you want it to be right now?
It's close,
Okay.
but I don't understand it because it's so lumped. So it
Well,
scares me.
if the guy has checked out with his references and his license is good and people like him and it's not broken out well, but he's in budget, that's where we'll kind of create the budget more for them. So sometimes like on our construction calculator, that the more detailed one where you can put in the types of flooring, the amount of square footage where it kicks out that number, we'll have them sign that as the quote instead of their lump sum quote because then it's at least broken out that way.
Okay.
Um, and so we'll kind of make it for them at that point because yeah, they're good dudes. They're good at what they do. They're just really, really bad at paperwork. I mean, some of my best contractors guys send me the worst quotes where I'm like, is this a joke? And then we send it back to him. We go through it with him, and then we make him sign off on that with the allowances on there.
Okay. But for this, because he put worker labor like 46,200, shouldn't that at least be broken out?
Um, it should, but that's where it'll be broken out in that bid by kind of because it will at least like the construction calculator breaks it down by install and materials,
Yeah.
right? So it will at least summarize their labor for you and it will at least isolate it in one spot for you. And it's not going to be exact, but it's going to be roughly, right? So at least we'll balance it out for you. Does that make sense?
No, you're saying like as I break out the material,
Sure. Let me pull up a
because I got a
construction
number.
bid.
Okay, sorry.
No, 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 you guys. These are great questions. There's Alex. There's nothing to be sorry about because this is the stuff that I can tell you probably half the people have questions on right now because we're always you guys. I'm always refining my construction estimate based on little thing. I'm like, this isn't working this way, or it's a little too complicated, right? So, or how do I make how do I make? I can't make so many rules too that I can't hire anybody.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
I have to also protect, but I have to protect myself, so I got to work around it. So I'm going to pull up a budget right now. Here we go. And so, can you guys all see this right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
cool.
Yep.
All right, so you guys, this is your construction calculator, and there is a video in the back end too that teaches you guys how to use this. Now, how we've broken this down is I've broken it down more like a builder. Because when I'm negotiating, I want to negotiate with logic and see, okay, A, do we have the right amount of cost in here? And is it reasonable? And it's a way for me to negotiate backwards. But so with Alex's scenario, let's say her contractor gives her a quote at the end and he's at 285,000 and her budget was 290,000 at the end. But it says materials, labor, two line items, that's it. That's dangerous because we don't know what's happening and not happening. What we can do as we go through is you can kind of build your own budget, at least for itemized, so then you can at least put numbers on everything. So, like with here, Alex, you would go through and you're going to say, okay, well, the contractor is going to do all the demo on this house, right? And it gives a rough ballpark of $3,000 for demo. And then we have two dumpster loads. So put in $2,000 there. And these are just estimates, right? These are not actual figures. These are what we're using to perform the deal. Then we have chimney at 2,500. Then we had a back deck edition demo at 3,500. So $11,000 in demo. and then it goes into framing, right? Installing windows. We had 20 windows at an average cost of $450 a window. We know the average rate to install windows $200 per window just by doing market research and interviewing contractors. And so it's $13,000 for windows. And then it breaks out egress windows, $900, so $1,800 there. Then it breaks out the French doors. We're going to install 2 sets of French doors for $3,700. And so, Alex, even though it might not be exact for what that guy's wages are, his is lumped out. So if you go through and you put in your full scope of work there and we get it over to that number, at least it's broken down to where if this guy walks off the job site and I've already given him, let's say given him $40,000 down and he was supposed to be doing demo and framing. If it's just a lump sum, he can say you charge whatever you want for demo. So this at least breaks it out to where I go, okay, well, you've only done demo at 80%. So I'm only giving you credit. You technically still owe us $2,500 off this. Or framing and windows. You did all the windows for 13,000, but you only did 10% of the framing. And so then I can back it down at least it's protected to where I can argue it later. And it's not going to be exact, but you have to be able to at least break it down and it puts it in a template that you can. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I'd fill out these allowances based on like what I know in my market, uh, using his total, right? Is that what you're
Yeah, so the
saying?
allowances are on the back end. Sorry, you guys got this chat box here too. Mm, Where this is like kind of looking weird for whatever reason. Hold on, you guys. There we go. Sorry, you guys' faces were in the middle. I can see it. So you can go to material allowance here, and then you can drop it, right? And you guys, we just preloaded in material allowances that we use on different types of projects, right? But as what we talk about is going and looking at projects, looking at other types of flips in your area, the price points you're in, and walking your different price points so you can go, okay, well, you know, when I'm going through these houses, the interior doors, the cheaper homes have 6 panel doors, which are $150 each. The nicer doors have shaker, which are $185 each. And so you can plug in any allowance for different types. We have a budget, basic, standard, and premium. So if you're walking through different price points in your market, you can start throwing that in based on the materials that you're seeing. So what I would do, honestly, if I was you, Alex, I would just put in premium because if his bid's vague, I'm just going to throw in the biggest allowance and see what he says if it balances out. Because then it at least protects me for the highest quality stuff going in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
And then
Okay.
it will automatically update your material allowance over here.
Okay, got it. I'll do that. Thank you.
Yep. And you guys on the back end, and again, we kind of go over this in the training video, um, but that will be one of our lessons is me just filling one of these out with pictures for this week. But, so as I'm going through, like my windows, this has all my install rates. So as I'm talking to siters or talking, as I get a quote from a contractor, I can take their quote, deduct the material cost from it. If I have 10 windows, let's say their quote is $10,000 and I have 10 windows at $350 a window, that means I can take $3,500 off that window quote. I can take the remaining $6,500, divide that by 10, and that's going to tell me that my contractor's rate that I'm getting quotes from is $650 a window. That's too high for our market, but if that's my trade, then I come in, I go, that's the only guy I got. I would update my install rate to 650. And so, Alex, as we're working through this quote with somebody, and as he kind of signs up to, let's see you guys go and move forward on this, we can take his lump sum bid and start, and as long as he's agreeing to these terms, we can kind of start locking in these pricings with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so I guess I'm putting in my material allowances and then that it will tell me what the labor install rates are for each,
Well,
right?
those are going to be my install rates that I've kind of
Oh, okay.
found out over time, right? By doing the same method of like calling contractors, asking them, hey, what's your, or calling other investors in the area and going, hey, what do you pay to install LVP floors? $2 a foot.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of what you want to handle too on the install rates is just go for the cosmetics. Like how much does it cost you to install tile per foot? How much does it cost you to install floors per foot? How much does it cost you to install cabinets per box? Those are the easy ones, the cosmetic, and then we'll work backwards into the electrical and the plumbing and the HVAC.
Okay, yeah, because I have some of those from just asking other people, but he won't tell me. Like, I don't know why.
Well, because
So,
honestly, Alex, he might not know.
yeah, yeah,
And
I
he's like,
think
I don't
so.
know. I got a bunch of guys I pay $20 an hour.
Yeah,
We just work our butts
yeah,
off. That could
yeah.
be the answer there. Um,
Okay.
and that's okay, it's but what I use it as, so like let's say that contractor gives me a flooring quote and I asked him to bid $2 material, right? And he gives me a quote for 6,000 for 1,000 square feet. So then I'm like, okay, well, so if it's 6,000 for 1,000 square feet, you're charging me $6 a foot to install this floor. This is how I would negotiate it backwards. I go, okay, well, we agreed upon a $2 floor. So I just want to make sure that means you're charging me 4,000 to install, which is about $4 a square foot to install flooring. And I don't want to beat you up, but when I talk to the other flooring contractors, or even if I go to Home Depot, their install rate is $2.50 a foot. So how come I'm getting charged more here?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're gonna back it down that way.
Okay, got it.
And that
Thank
will
you.
definitely be one of the calls coming up, guys. It might even be next week where I'm just taking a bid and I'm just gonna break down a bid line by line and going, is this reasonable or not? And then how do I verify it is? And it allows me to negotiate in a logical way.
Cool, thanks.
Cool. Drew, sounds like you just chopped some heads.
Yeah, I mean, the one that I took him off of is one I hadn't signed a contract for, but I just got keys on it today. It
Okay.
just closed. So I took my other guy over there, who's like my number one GC, and I have him giving me a bid, and I'm just going to start him on Thursday.
Oh, so
I'm
you
just
pulled the
like,
work, you didn't fire him.
yeah, but
That,
he is on another job that I have, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm kind of tempted to pull him on that because, like, he just tells me shit all the time, and I'm like, dude, stop telling me these things if it's not happening. Like, I had a dumpster full of concrete out in front of a $1.5 million house I'm trying to sell, and he's like, oh yeah, he's coming tomorrow, coming tomorrow. And then I'm like, do you just not have money to move this freaking thing? He's like, yeah, I'm waiting for the final payment. I was like, I'll pay it and just take it out of the final payment. Like, stupid little shit like that. I'm like, we got to be on a team. Like, if I don't know what's holding you up, and you keep telling me this is going to happen, just like the project today, the other one I went to, and he said the guys were loading up in concrete, and I showed up, and the dumpster's empty, and no concrete's been moved, and it's just so. I may have to fire him on that one, but I think yeah, doing the lean thing is going to be um, I think the way to go if I have to get to that point. But I'm also, you know, kind of went nuts and I've got 5 projects coming up and I don't want one GC doing all of them. I kind of feel like I need to spread it out a little.
what
It's,
so A, they're always gonna do that. It's
yeah,
done. And it's
yeah,
not like I showed up to a yard yesterday and I'm like, all right, we're ready to go, ready to flip live. He's like, yeah, everything looks perfect. I get out there, the beds are full of weeds. I'm like, dude, what are we talking about here? He's like, oh my guys, because that's the next answer, right?
yeah,
And
exactly.
but that's not who we hired. We hired you. So that's gonna be normal all the time.
Yeah,
And but what you did is not a bad thing, you guys. So how we keep guys in line is they always want the next job. And what Drew just did is he's got a guy on a job site. He gave him an opportunity to quote something. He's not communicating well. he's not getting his bid back to you quickly and all these things, it sounds like.
Yeah. The bid took forever. He finally got it to me today, and I'm like, dude, I just got keys today. You've known about this for weeks, and it's 3 minutes from the other project. That's why I was like, dude, perfect. You can just do both of these. They're right next to each other.
But what Drew, it's not a bad thing what you did because you gave it to somebody else and you can say,
Yeah,
hey man, dude, I wanted to give you the work. You're right there. It made all the sense in the world, but I have lenders and investors I got to give these quotes to. And if you don't get back to me with an itemized quote quickly and show up and do what you say you're going to do, I have to get it from someone else because I have a timetable I have to do. I didn't have a choice.
yeah,
And you gotta be more professional or I'm not doing this to be an asshole. I'm just dude, you didn't seem like you really wanted the job. I thought you were just a little too busy.
yeah.
And it trains him. I guarantee you that next quote will be very quick back and he'll finish. But don't say that you're not going to hire him again. Be like, dude, well, I'll get you on the next one. I gave you the opportunity, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and that's why I think I'm just gonna when he's on and just be like, all right, show me you can crush it on this one because I've got two I'm selling right now, and those investors are gonna want another one, and obviously I'm giving all these other projects to the other guys, so um, you know, I'm trying to be. Because I've seen it too with my investors where they just start firing people and then we got to find all new people and it's just a whole freaking headache. So it's like I'm just trying to have some ease, but I think I also have to put a little pressure on him with that. So I think it's going to be the right call. I mean, I wanted to get his bid today so I can compare it to the other guy's bid. So I haven't fully told him yet, but he's going to know. And he's already pissed, yeah, that he's not starting and whatever, but I'll deal with that.
Well, yeah, but it's just more you want to take it as a moment to coach him up too. Like, hey, look,
Yeah,
dude, I'm trying to give you work here, man, but you got to help yourself here too. Like, I
yeah,
literally had this penciled for you. I spent time with you to go through it. You kind of ghosted me, so I didn't think you really wanted it.
yeah. No, that's so true.
And like, dude, I got your back, but man, you got to
Yeah,
like, if I don't call a client back, I don't sell him a house, right?
exactly.
And so,
Yeah,
just try to do it that way because it will make him shape up. Like you're stern, but you build him back up, right? 'Cause
yeah.
is he good in his own way?
He is good. I mean, he's a great framer, good foundation guy. I mean, like on the project he's on, another guy quoted me 30 grand to fix the foundation and he got it done with 6 grand, and like the post and everything looked great. It leveled out the house. Like I was stoked. Um, but yeah, there's just certain things like, I keep waiting for my freaking sprinklers to work, and he's like, "Well, I don't know low voltage." And I'm like, "Well, get somebody out here who can hook up my damn sprinkler system to, it's like everything's ran, but it's not hooked up to the timer." And I'm just like, dude, I just paid 3 grand for this sod, and it's 85 degrees out here, in California. I'm
Yeah.
like, get this hooked up, and it's just, I'm realizing he'll say he can do stuff, but he really has no business doing certain things. Like we need to sub those
Yeah.
out, and that's kind of where now that I do have the project manager, like I have a meeting tomorrow with one of the contractors to really go over the scope of work and just really dial things in because he's saying like 7,000 on the landscaping when it's like a 7,500 square foot terrace lot that I want the landscaping to be dialed like because that 4 houses down that had this sick terrace lot with a cabana and like it's just dialed in. They got 1.8 million, and I'm like, fuck, dude, if I hit that on this, that would be huge. So I just need to make sure that I'm on the same page because I see that all the time where like they line item it, but I'm just like, well, yeah, this is lumped together. You're telling me 33,000, but there's two bathrooms, but really there's three. Where's the other one? And like,
Yep.
so
Well, and that's what
I'm
you gotta catch that. Like put that in there.
yeah,
And you guys, if there's lack of clarity, like what Drew talked about with that landscaping plan, I actually draw like I'll either pull that off their bid because I don't need to pay them for it now anyways, and I can wait till I get closer to listing to see how much I want to spend. Because I can get them locked in on it, but I'll just pull it off and go, you know what, we're gonna handle this when we get closer to listing. So then I know what to do.
that's smart.
And then from there, also if they do have it, because recently one of my guys was like, dude, I really want the landscape. I'm like, dude, but you suck at landscaping. And I'm like, and I got $5,000 in my budget or 6,000. I'm like, you're gonna do a $2,500 job in there, and I'm gonna be annoyed.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, trust me, I got new guys. He's like, some. And so what we did is we mapped out a plan right there. And I was like, all new sod through here, 4 foot beds in here, all new plants going into like up to $1,000 in plants, pressure. And so I just mapped it all out and I color code it. And I'm like, this is what you're doing, and you're gonna sign this. And
Yeah.
so it's you guys, it's not like with the land, I don't have like a landscape architect for my jobs. I'm just coloring shit and going new
Yeah.
sod here, beds here, plants here, pressure wash, and I just want them to sign that so it looks better.
That's good. No, that's really smart. And I like the idea of pulling certain things off. Like, let's get the job going. I can finish that shit later, and maybe I sub it out too. But a big thing that like I really need to figure out is I've got 2 properties that we're about to start, demoing out and working on that have basements. And I always see, basements, you're adding rooms, you're like doing all this stuff, getting more things. But then when I talk to them, they're like, dude, we'll end up in plan check. It's going to take forever. And like, I want to be in and out usually too. With these ones, I've, one of them 4 months, another one maybe 2 months, because that one's already kind of dialed in. It's pretty sweet, but the one already has a 1-1 with like a bonus room downstairs. So I want to be able to capture that space, have that extra space down there. It's not on title. And then I have another one where it's got this like 10-foot ceiling, just massive basement with a bathroom that's really going to take it to the next level. I want to add again, have a 1-1 down there with like, kind of a man cave, like bar, like gym. And I'm just wondering, like, what's the best way to go about like adding these rooms, framing them in? I mean, are they just telling me plan check is scary and is going to take forever, or can that really kind of screw me up? Like, just do everything to code and then just let them know, like, hey, this was an existing basement. We just fixed it up, or I don't know. What's the way you usually?
So you're talking about if you don't if you opt not to pull permit, is what you're saying.
Yeah, like if I opt not to pull like full on structural, like get an architect in there, or is it just that's the way to do it if I want to maximize the sale price? Because I've always stayed away from them and just pulled things over the counter of like, hey, I'm adding a bath, I'm doing the kitchen, I'm doing windows, just doing the over counter permits.
No, those are, I mean, if you can get the over the counter permit, just, you can roll with that because you're not an architect, you're not an engineer. You can't say what's full structural or not, right? But if you are taking out walls, um, like if you have the permits, you're looking pretty good. It's when you don't pull a permit, and you guys, there is a lot of people that don't pull permits on their job sites. Um, what the thing I would not say, you guys, no matter what, if you don't pull a permit, you want to disclose that and don't downplay it
Yeah.
because that's how you can get yourself in litigation. And for whatever reason, if I've done something that I did not pull a permit on, it is all over my Form 17 going, we did construction, we did not pull permits. Were they required? Yes, because almost everything requires a permit, anyways. And I always disclose that, and then I write what we did. And, because I want the buyer to, A, I need to tell them the right story. And B, it sets the expectation of, hey, this is what we did, and this is how we verify these things. We hired a licensed bonding contractor. This is what happened, and this is why. And, because if you don't disclose, that's how you get yourself in deep trouble.
Got it.
And so and honestly, it's always best just to tell them before, like if you're selling with no permit for whatever reason, it's, hey, look, yeah, they did some work here. They did a little bit more than they were expecting. But, they did not pull a permit, but they did use licensed and bonded contractors. And if the buyer's cool with that, they're cool with it. And some people will not be too.
So, so like with these ones, there's already like a bathroom down there. One of them already has a little room. The other one doesn't. I'm doing the work. They both have doors to the bottom unit. Like, I mean, there's exterior doors to them, so it's obviously it's been there. Um, but I'm wondering too. So if I'm pulling my bathroom permit, you know, but it wasn't titled space. Am I able to capture that while I'm in the permit process for the stuff I'm doing, or I'm just saying it's taped? I mean, that's usually what I like. The garage I just finished up. We just put mini split flooring, insulated it. I kept the garage door. I'm just saying, hey, that's taped living space because you can use it as an office, whatever.
Yeah.
But I didn't pull a permit for that. So with the basement, if I pulled the permit to do the bathroom down there and some of that stuff, like, is that going to be able to show, like, when I'm selling it as an agent, like, hey, this was 890 square feet. Now it's actually, 1,700 square feet or
But
1,600.
but you pulled the permit for it?
Pulled the permit for the bathroom, and yeah, I guess, do I need to do the structural for the basement to get that added?
No, a lot of times it's not going to be even structural. It'll be like energy code and what they require. I would say you don't have to. Like some
Hmm.
people will pull electrical and plumbing permits separate. And then
Okay,
I would just disclose that to the buyer saying, hey, we got electrical, we got a plumbing permit, and then those are the two permits we pull for the basement, and then we insulated and drywalled it
got it.
and floored it. And
Okay,
so, because I would say most of the time people are more concerned with plumbing, electrical, or HVAC.
yeah,
Um, you can run into an appraiser might call it sometimes, going, I don't see anything, but
yeah,
typically if we've submitted them plumbing and electrical permits, they're like, okay, cool, whatever, we're done. And so it can come back. Um, but I would say the most important thing is you guys, a lot of times we're trying to do permits, we're getting permits and we're trying to do it in a strategic way so we don't get stuck in a 6 month wait, right? And so we tell buyers that all the time. Hey, we pulled electrical and plumbing because we're trying to get this house done. Those are important things for us to get done. We in the basement, we insulated, we drywalled. This is what we used, but these are the items that were permitted. And as long as we disclose it up front to the buyer, it actually is a pretty smooth transaction from there. And that we use licensed and bonded people. That's the other thing.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
when you're that's buyers get really wary if there's no permits and no one was licensed and bonded on the job.
yeah.
That's just a disaster most of the time.
Yeah, it made me think about it when I was watching your thing with Rob or whatever, the most recent one, and I saw you moved a bedroom and stuff, and that's where I was like, how do you get that done in 8 weeks? Like, if there's, moving
But
that.
but it depends on structural walls,
Because
right?
those are
And so most of your
structural.
permitting is going to be based on are you moving structural or not?
Got it.
And so that's why you hear me talk a lot in these videos. Like I try to stay in the inside frame walls, or like some of a few weeks ago I did design your layouts
Hmm.
on one of these calls where I was like, I want to stay inside my structural walls. And so sometimes I'll sacrifice some of my layout just to not move a wall. And I'll just be like, this is good enough to get through here. And so that's going to be the big difference on your framing. Like that bathroom wall is just 2x4s that were moved around at that point.
Yeah, yeah. And
But if we
then
were to
so
move
like,
that bathroom wall in, that's structural. It goes into plan review.
got it. And then the other one, the one I just closed on today, I'm taking the breakfast nook. It's an old Spanish because it still has like a huge, like a big dining, and I'm turning that into the office. There's nothing structural, but I think I just saw you today where it's at a place and you're taking a dining room and adding a bedroom there where the dining room was. Was that a video I saw today? I forget. But I think you talked about it. You're like, yeah, there's a bedroom here and a bathroom. This was the dining, but we're going to actually turn that into another bedroom. Now, when you do that, is it just, again, we can list it as a 3-2 and tell everybody we added a bedroom? Like, is there a way to have that again added to, now that I've added another room, like an office bedroom, by using the dining?
Well,
Or
if you have drywalled house and I just frame in a wall and put a bedroom in there,
yeah,
that's no big deal. It's when you're conditioning unfinished space is where the question will be. If it was like nothing before, like where I was taking the bedroom and putting where the dining room is, well, that was already finished space. I'm just putting a wall and I'm not moving anything around. So I can call it a 4 bedroom. I don't need a permit to add that bedroom. Now I would need a permit to add the electrical to the walls and all those things.
Got it. So
But
that,
to add the bedroom, no. Now to add the bedroom in the basement, it's not about adding the bedroom, it's making it habitable, which is insulating it, drywalling it, and taking it from a raw space to a finished space.
and the appraiser will count that once like they see it.
Yeah.
They'll-
Yeah, because it's just finished at that point.
Got it.
Yeah.
So it's not like I have to like try to get it up. It'll get updated on title when I resell it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's the finished space or not. But I wouldn't worry about the bedrooms as much. It's just when you're conditioning space.
Okay.
And there's been honestly plenty of houses where we've done electrical, plumbing, HVAC, didn't pull building because we kept everything inside the frame walls and it was fine. We had no problem selling it too.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I feel like those are kind of the main things I'm dealing with, this contractor. And then I have this guy who keeps wanting me to buy this new construction, and I've got like investors who want to give me the cash, but I'm also like, man, I don't know if should take on a hillside new construction.
Absolutely do not take on a hillside new
Okay.
construction. There's a reason, Drew, he's calling you because no one else wants to build it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys, one of my biggest advices is stay away from hillsides.
Okay. All right. I'm not gonna do it.
The numbers look great on them, but they are not
I
great.
know it's like $1 million of profit, but I'm just like, but then I'm like, I'm taking on the investor for the down, plus I'm having to get a hard money. It's just, I'm like, this just seems crazy.
I can tell you the performance wrong. It won't be $1 million.
Yeah, I
It's
guarantee it.
yeah. It's time, cost, geo. It ends up your build cost will go up by like 25%, 30%.
Oh, damn.
It's everybody stay away from hills. I'm just telling you. Most properties I've had problems with have been on hillsides.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's probably why Thomas James Homes won't build on them. They're like, give me a flat lot, I'll build you whatever you want.
Yep. That's exactly why. It's a pain in the butt.
Yeah. Cool, man.
Cool. Well, you're ripping, dude. You're moving.
Yeah, it was nice to get keys on that one. So yeah, 2 on market, 2 working, 3 more in escrow to start working on next week.
Cool.
Crazy.
Keep on it, dude.
Thanks.
Dennis,
Hey, what's up, James?
what's up, buddy? How are you, man?
Doing good. Got a couple questions. And I kind of want to piggyback off of Drew's conversation too. So you talked about when you would consider pulling permits versus when you wouldn't. And my question is like, if you're just gonna do like a consider pulling permits at that point.
Sorry, you chopped up for 1 second. I lost you. Yeah, I think I lost the important part of the question.
You hear me better?
Yep.
So if you're gonna do like a cosmetic rehab, right?
Yep.
Would you consider pulling permits for that?
I guess I gotta be careful how we define cosmetic. Is it just like flooring, cabinets, doors, trim, like just a straight change out like for like?
Yeah, but like replacing, like the bathroom, like the vanities,
Okay.
toilet, sinks, things like that. So you
But
are gonna have to, touch the plumbing.
but not reconfigure the house or move electrical and plumbing around, really. A little bit?
Let's say yes.
Okay. A little bit. Well, if it's just a straight change out, like for like, typically no, I don't. Are you supposed
Okay.
to? Yes, you're supposed to because every fixture that you're changing, you're supposed to pull a permit for. Now once you start moving around electrical and plumbing, I try to always electrical, I like to get permits on. Like that's a safety thing, so I do like to get electrical permits on those things. And there is certain things that you can do to kind of move around that make it simpler too, depending on the city that you're in. Like sometimes we'll pull an electrical panel permit, have it signed off, done, and then we might do some other tweaks in there. But for something that's usually fairly cosmetic, we just kind of roll through. We use licensed and bonded contractors, and then we have a home inspector do a pre-inspection and a re-inspection on every house. But technically you should, but I would say a lot of people don't. Dennis, you there?
Yeah, I had to turn off my camera because I was getting laggy for some reason. But I've been hearing what you've been saying.
Um, and so you should I with electrical, I always like to try to permitting it is pretty essential for me.
Okay, so electrical for sure, and then plumbing too.
Yes, I like to do plumbing as well. If it's kind of a change out, like when I'm swapping in a tub and
Yeah.
do those things, I often won't.
Okay. Okay. And then I had a question about you mentioned that it's super easy to get a contractor's license, like it's a joke. Is there any benefit of us getting a contractor's license just because it's super easy?
Well, there is. You're Washington, right?
Yeah, Seattle.
Okay. Yeah, so the reason there is a benefit to it is because in Washington State, you technically are supposed to have one. They have the flipping law, where
Oh,
if you are hiring, and you guys, this is really important for you to always research the jurisdictions that you're in. I talk about that a lot in Project Flip. Um, so technically in Washington State, they passed a law that where if you are going to be managing more than two trades on a house, so if you hire a roofer and an appliance company, you technically need to be a general contractor and license bonded. What will happen is if you're not and someone comes by your job site and you're running subs through and let's say L&I stops by, they're going to issue you a ticket for that. Now your first offense will probably be like $500, but after that it gets more and more expensive.
oh, that's crazy. What if you're hiring out a GC that does everything for you?
If you're hiring a general contractor that does everything, you technically don't need the license. It's kind of Washington always writes their laws where it's kind of a little gray. But after going through it with my attorney, he says just don't do more than two and you don't need that license.
I see.
And you
Okay.
guys, there's kind of two rules of thumbs about this. Like some investors believe, now I like just being licensed and bonded as a general contractor because A, we do sub out a lot of job sites and does give me coverage. The other reason I like it is because honestly, it kind of helps me get pricing. Sometimes when I'm calling contractors, I can say, hey, I'm with this construction company. If I need to on a new one, I'll position that instead of an investor, Um, and it will sometimes help speak contractor talk more. Um, and then also just kind of with the amount of construction we have going on, we have general insurance just in case something goes wrong.
Gotcha.
And so now a lot of people think that no, I don't want anything to do because if I don't touch the house, I have no liability. And that's their belief. It's kind of like people that don't want a pre-inspection report. They're like, I don't want to know about any other issues on this house, which they have a valid point for each. And so, I mean, Dennis, if you're gonna start out right now and you're hiring in general, I don't think you need it right now. But it would be something as you just start doing more projects, I would look at getting it just because it gives you more liability coverage. And sometimes you guys can get cheaper flip insurance too if you are licensed and bonded for your premiums.
Got it. Yeah, that's really good to know. Didn't even think about that. Um, and when you were going through the L&I thing, there was a bond amount of like 12,000. I guess when you're looking at these bond amounts, what's the minimum you want to look for?
It's 12,000 is the minimum.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, that is the minimum. And you guys, I will say about the bonds, they're kind of a joke because it's $12,000, right? And so what happens is if you have to sue a contractor for, and you guys, the thing is, when you have to make a claim against a contractor, you can't claim theft. Like if they walked away with my money, that's not covered. What we want to do, and we're going to talk about this when I talk about getting rid of a contractor and documenting it correctly, is if I'm making a claim, I want to make pictures and document it the whole way through. Like, okay, this guy was supposed to frame this wall and it's totally crooked. I had to pay someone to bring someone back in to reframe it. I would go out there, take photos of the before. I have what they did after, and then I would take pictures of the repair and then send in the estimate with that. And that's how I can make a claim against their bond. The problem is you got to hire an attorney for most of the time to deal with it, and the attorney ends up eating up six of the 12,000 anyways. And so that's where the bond doesn't cover you all the way. And the construction contract, though, has a lot more teeth in it to where you can kind of go after them for a judgment. Because I have gotten a summary judgment against a contractor before based on that contract. There's a lot more teeth in that.
Gotcha.
But
Eh,
12,000 that is definitely the minimum.
would that kind of deter you from working with someone, or is that just like standard all
That's
around?
pretty standard across the board.
Okay.
Very rarely do you see anybody with a higher bond than 12,000 a lot of times.
Okay.
Unless they're doing like structural work or something like that. It's just kind of par for the course. Especially the guys that
And
we're going to be hiring.
yeah. And then last question, when would you consider pulling permits yourself versus having the contractor do them?
So we like to pull now. We like to pull the building permit ourselves or work on that. We don't like to give that over to the contractor because they can come up with a million and one reasons of why it's not getting done. And so we like to be in control of the building permit. So we'll hire an architect and engineer or submit ourselves on the plans. So the building permit we like to do in-house, and then we have the tradespeople and the general contractor pull the plumbing permit, the electrical permit, and all the individual permits separate in their own name.
Okay.
Now, one thing with the electrical, it can be beneficial sometimes if you pull a homeowner permit, because technically, as the homeowner, you can do all the wiring yourself. And so some people will pull a homeowner permit and then have, one of their buddies or freelancer guys come out there and wire it with them. And so it sometimes will save people money on the electrical.
Would it have to be like a owner occupied for that, or you could do for investment or
It,
any
no,
sort of
it's
property?
it's technically for investment. You can pull a homeowner permit for it. And as long
Oh,
as you do it yourself, it's okay. It's kind of
okay.
like asbestos, you guys. You can actually abate asbestos yourself. And if you do it on your own, like if I go into my house and I'm like, you know what? I don't want to pay any money in asbestos removal. I'm just going to remove it myself. I can kind of remove it any which way I want. I mean, I got to make sure I'm dumping it in the right way. But like, they're not going to find me for wearing no mask because it's my house and it's my life. And so you can technically remove all the asbestos yourself too, you don't need to be a licensed bonding company for that. No,
It's the
Okay,
same
good to
for
know.
lead paint,
don't
right?
cheat that. Yes, lead paint or yeah, Abby knows a little bit about the asbestos in the lead paint. Abby?
Yeah, I I actually ended up getting Elle and I like stopped our project and the guy came out and was gonna put everything on halt and basically we needed to keep going and so I just told him that I personally removed all of the siding and encapsulated all the lead paint and asbestos and he let the entire thing go. So
To be fair, you guys, Abby and her brother were out there doing a lot of shit out there.
I
So
actually
yeah,
did rip off a lot of this like
yes, they
literally was
did.
Oh,
out
So
there
okay.
in the
it
dark ripping
wasn't.
off siding.
That's not a lie.
Yeah, there's
But
a video of it.
it did go away because what they're concerned with is did you hire someone not disclose there's asbestos and they were exposed to it? That's really what they're concerned about. And if you're doing it on your own, you're on your own. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a lot of people think I should not walk through these mold houses that I walk through either, which I probably shouldn't, but it's is what it is.
Yeah, we like hand picked up pieces of like paint from the outside of the house so
But it
that the
was
guy
not
would
in
not fine our contractor because we did it ourselves and we just didn't really necessarily know the risks at first.
it is not an enjoyable experience talking to
No.
Elle and I, but they push harder than their bark is a lot of times louder than their bite.
Yeah, they just like to teach you about all the risks. So if you're like to sit there and listen to them, then they'll be really friendly actually.
Yeah, not always, but
Maybe I'm just better at sucking up to them, but
yeah, you're better at getting out of tickets.
yeah.
But hey,
Yeah, that's all I had. Thank you.
okay, cool. Byron, what's up, buddy?
Hey James, good to see you.
Good to see you. Oh, did you go walk Wendy Weston's CDM project with them?
No, I did what is it, like Costa Mesa, East Side? It was just before demo.
Okay, I mean that's probably the right one to walk, but their CDM project's cool, by the way. It's a cool house. I went and walked it the other day.
Yeah, he told me about it. I'm gonna hit him up he's got about five going on at the same time, so I'm gonna try
It,
walk some more with him.
that's a big boy project they're doing right there. That's
Yeah,
that's a $12 million resale. So that's they're going for it.
yeah, he's got a lot of cojones, that guy.
Yeah, no, I like it. Yeah, you guys,
Um,
Academy's building a $12 million house right now. That's pretty impressive. I've never
yeah,
built
so
a $12 million house. So,
he does new construction and his wife does flipping.
yep. Yeah. Yeah. He,
So yeah, they got a good business going.
yep. Yeah. They're good people.
So my question is, could you go through in a little bit more detail just how you represent the allowances in your contract? So, like, I'm assuming that this appears in your scope of work, right?
Yeah. So what it is, I'm going to share that screen again.
Because I know you do your research, you set, right, your estimates based on that, but like, how do you best represent that with your GC? Do you get them to quote it and then you come back with your average, or do you set that for them? Can you just talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so when we're quoting, before we quote, we like to give them the material list. And one thing that we also like to do, especially if it's a newer contractor that hasn't worked with
Mhm.
us a lot, is we print out pictures of the house that we're trying to make it look like too. And we go, "Hey, we want it to look like this." And then as you can see in this construction sheet, it says material allowance in here. And so it's listed out for them. And if I don't want to give them that sheet, what I actually do is I go over to the material allowance page here and I'll just copy, like, you guys sometimes, if they're just bidding blindly and they're not breaking it down, we don't want to give them all that first. I will just copy this right off this, throw it in an Excel spreadsheet and put the standard that I want in there. So I'll literally just go, "Hey, as you're quoting, here's all the list of allowances that I want you to use in your quote." And so, let me see. There we go. And so I just copied and pasted that allowance page, and we'll just give it to them this way because it's all listed out there for them on what they need to do. Oops, hold on. Didn't copy over right.
You just need to expand the columns.
Yeah, for some reason the text didn't come over though. Hold on one sec.
Uh,
Let's see, actually, is it plumbing? Yes, not grabbing the fixtures. Hold on one sec. So let's say I'm doing a nicer house. I'll just throw it in here, just copy and paste it over. And so when I'm estimating, I just say, "Hey, look, when you're using your quote, I want you to use these allowances for these materials in here. So for every tub and shower trim kit, I want an $800 allowance in there. Or every rain head, I want $1,000 allowance. Or every for my kitchen cabinets, I want a $20,000 allowance in there." Or countertops, when you're quoting all the countertops, we have a $15,000 material allowance in there.
So
Yeah.
you're giving him reference photos, but are you going into any more detail around specs, right? Like if it's LVP, here's, yeah, you got the picture and roughly the specs. If it's a shower trim kit, here's the picture and the rough specs that I'm looking for. Or do you let them come back to you with that?
We will give them, like, a lot of times, like, we have the spec sheets in there. Um, the reason we like to have them bid off allowances is because we might change our mind too on what we want there, whether it's chrome or black or different types of fixtures. And so what that does is when they lock in on the allowance, we'll say, "Hey, we'll get you over the detailed spec sheet within 4 weeks of starting."
Hmm.
Then as my team's looking at it or I'm looking for it, I'm trying to be below 800. And if anything, it's just going to give me a credit at the end. And so they're bidding with the max allowance in there. And then that gives me up to get a material up to that price. Now, anything above that price, I'm going to have to pay the delta on. So like right here, bathroom
Perfect.
faucets. If I want $100 faucet, well, the guy bid five at $50 each. So I got to pay more. Or I can maybe go on Amazon and maybe it's not the nicest craziest flip and I can get them for $25 and I can save $25 a fixture at that point. And so the allowance gives you they're bidding it with the max amount. Um, and yes, I will put in like on this, it doesn't need to be detail because the flooring, this is, hey, you're installing solid surface floors. It could be LVP, it could be pre-finished hardwoods. They're usually going to be about the same install rate. And I'll just ask the guy, like, hey, you install LVP and pre-finished same rate, right? He's like, yeah, it's fine. Well, I'm going to bid up to $6 flooring. And who knows, maybe I find LVP that's just awesome at $6 and it's like the luxury stuff. And I think it looks better than the pre-finished stuff at 450. And so it just gives me the allowance, so they're bidding that they're installing solid surface floors,
Hmm.
which are the same price, and I'm going to pick the spec up to $6, but they're quoting at that $6 spec.
Do
And
you
so
ever, or I
it allows me
guess
to
when you
not pick them.
flippers,
Oh, say again?
when you flippers, do you ever put in the contract that they will pick materials, right? Like you give the inspiration and rough specs and allowances, but they'll go pick some of those materials?
Yeah, no, I think we used to do that all the time. I mean, especially, and you guys like on my more affordable flips, I give a lot of, like especially if I'm trying to do like a bang out job on a house that I'm selling for like say 200, or we just did this. We did a mobile home where I wasn't as particular in. We just wanted the right size or we just wanted the right style and tone. And the contractor's like, dude, your budget's a little tight. And I thought it was fine. So we kept talking about that. And I'm like, hey, well, I'm good with whatever floors. I just want this tone. So we showed him a
Mm,
picture. I said, hey, it can be LVP. I just want at least a 6 pound pad and just send us photos. And it's just got to be around this tone. So then he can go out and find clearance stuff to make some money on it.
mm,
And so we will give that flexibility. Now, the more expensive the house, the less flexible I am.
makes
Because
sense.
sometimes almost good enough's not good enough. Like, especially like SoCal, more expensive markets, or, you know, um, if we're selling something on the upper echelon of a price point, I want to be a lot more specific typically. Or I want an exact look in my design to pull off the price. And so that's where we'll give them the spec. And then we say, hey, if you found something that's really close of quality and you're getting a deal on it, we're cool with it. Because I'm good to let the contractor go make money and go find a better deal on it too. Like if I find the floors for $5 and he's like, dude, I got this stuff, and I'm like, oh, I really like those. He's like, they're only 350. I'm letting them keep that margin because I'm cool with it anyways. And then it's just a way to keep them going and they're hitting my budget anyways. Um,
Cool.
and so it's a good way to kind of like trade off with guys too. Like, oh man, I'm tight on this. I'm like, well, hey, you can use these floors instead. And so the allowance kind of sets in it. The good thing about the allowance too is let's say you buy that property and the market shifts a little bit for whatever reason 4 weeks later. You're going, oh crap, my margin got tighter. I can then audit my allowance list and be like, you know what? I can say if I change this to $4 instead of six, if I take my light fixtures that are $250 and take it down to 150, I can control my own spend a little bit better. That's why the allowances are also important. Like for whatever reason, if you want to change it, you can sub in different cheaper materials and drive the price down.
That's smart. Thank you.
Yeah, but yeah, you can be flexible with them. I mean, the more flexible you are, guys, the contractors like working, but I would say the more expensive, the more direct you want to be.
Cool. Makes sense. Thanks,
Yep.
James.
All right, one question I saw in the chat, I'm gonna grab, and then I'm gonna hop over to Sergi. It says, what are some signs that a new contractor is gonna be good when walking them through the project? Okay, great question. So you guys, things that I'm looking for with a contractor, um, as I'm going through. The first thing is, do they measure anything? You would be shocked how many contractors walk your job sites and they don't even measure. And they'll throw out a number at you. And you're like, how did you come up with a window quote? You didn't even count the windows. So first thing is, are they counting things out? Are they taking their time? Are they measuring things? Um, the other thing that I'm always looking, you guys, the contractor that's talking the most on job site is always a little bit of a red flag. when they're a know-it-all on everything. Because typically they're trying to compensate for something else. That's just been my experience. Um, Another thing that I really like about a contractor is when I'm talking about like, hey, I want to open up this kitchen wall. But we're trying to stay in budget. If they're coming up with cost-effective solutions, like, hey, we could open this up, but if you leave a post here and you do this, we can do this for a lot cheaper price. And so when they're coming up with cost-saving ideas, they're more of like a partner on it. I would say those are my three things that I'm looking for most when I'm walking through with them. Also, if they pull up in a Ferrari or a Mercedes, I'm usually not into it. So I don't like the fancy contractors. Nothing against them. It's just not for me. If they have a nicer car than me, I don't really want to hire them. But I would say those are my biggest things when I first meet them. Sergey, do you have a nice car? Because you're a great contractor.
Not really.
Okay, there we go. See, yeah,
I try not to for my job sites.
yeah. You guys don't judge a book by its cover. So they have a nice car doesn't mean anything. But I would say, yeah, if they're not showing up in a work truck, that means they're not working.
Yeah. Okay, James. Hey, how's it going?
Good man, how you doing, dude?
Good, good. I have a similar question to what you guys just discussed for materials. I know it's a little bit different with the general contractor because you can let them, you can give them the prices and the specs, and they can order it or source it from somewhere else for a little bit cheaper.
Yep.
But I'm trying to manage most of my flips by myself. So, let's say something like tile, flooring, light fixtures, plumbing fixtures. Is it better to supply by myself or try to give that for for contractors?
So we jam it on our contractors because just from my own experience, there's a lot of waste when I'm having my team do it. Like all of a sudden, I got three light fixtures down in my stairs that I'm like, dude, you guys, they just got bought, they didn't get used, now they're just sitting here. And so I try to give them the spec to go buy it themselves. Um,
Right.
so like our plumbing, it depends on. So is your ultimate goal to stay organized or to get the lowest possible price?
Well, to stay organized, that's number one. Number two is to have some a little bit more free time because
Okay.
if it's a bigger flip and a lot of material is needed, all I need to do is just run all day long trying to shop around for materials.
Yeah. So what we like to give them the link to the spec and say this is what we want, and they go source it. I would say 99% of our we have our contractors buy almost everything for the house with
Mhm.
our spec list, except for we usually handle appliances because I don't usually even pull the trigger which ones I want until like 4 weeks before like listing based
Yeah.
on the comps. So I don't like to budget up front for it. And then specialty lighting we usually will buy like dining light, maybe bathroom master vanity light
Mm.
because it's a little bit more specific. But other than that, we make them buy everything: door handles, hinges, everything that needs to be included. Um,
Okay,
we tr
so
you can save a little bit of money by buying it yourself, but it's just not worth it, in my opinion.
exactly, exactly.
Uh, it's just, or some people do it to put it on their credit card. I'm like, but it's such a pain in the butt. Their points aren't worth it that much. But, everyone's got to do it their own. But I would give them the spec. And then what I would do, like, so for our plumber, we pull a lot of our spec just from Ferguson's. Like it's got to be in Ferguson's or we don't put it on there because that's where he shops. He goes and he knows that place really well and he gets the best pricing there too. And
Okay.
so I try not to make a spec sheet where they got to go a million different places too. It's like one lighting store, one plumbing store,
Yeah.
and then it's kind of up to them to, that's why they're also getting paid to install the stuff. Like they can source it too.
But would they add additional charge for like getting materials or not?
They don't, but I mean, they usually can get it cheaper though. They're going to get their contractor pricing. So like a lot of times we're sourcing our spec off build.com and my team does it that way because
Hmm.
build.com is you get good pricing, but it's not Ferguson builder pricing. It's like 5% more, 10% more. And so they're already going to get the margin there.
Right.
Or like the electrical contractors, they have better pricing than we can even get as builders and investors. So most of the time, if we're giving them the spec, they're going to be able to get it for cheaper and make some
Okay.
money.
Yeah,
And
because
because
on
it is
my
important to leave money on you got to leave meat on the bone for your guys. So,
yeah, for sure, for
yeah.
sure. Yeah. But at the same time, I will have a little bit more time to do other things. Because on one of my project, I had to go, I had to go for three different floor decors to get a tile.
Yeah, that is it, and the hard thing about Floor and Decor for making a standardized spec is they rotate their inventory out so much.
Yeah,
And so it is hard to standardize it. But you can go online. That's what a lot of times I'll go online, see if they have in there and just send the photo like, here, will you come pick this up? And so we'll make our tile guys install it or pick it up on their install.
okay, so just go online, order it, and have the store prep it for pickup, and then he can just stop by and pick it up.
Yeah, or we're just telling them he's got to go buy it.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we pay him inside the allowance. And then what I a lot of times too, you guys ask in a good time to have those conversations too as guys start charging you more, right? Like I don't know about you, but my tile installers are a lot more expensive than they were 18 months ago. I don't know. Tile's like one of those guys that are just ripping up all the time. And,
Yeah.
and so every time someone increases a price on me, and maybe it's valid, maybe it's not, but if I'm going to accept it, I always go, hey, but now I need you to do this. So like I used to pick up all the tile for you now. You're going to be picking up the tile on that price. And
Okay.
so I'll use it, especially when they're raising prices. I use that to renegotiate time.
Okay. Would you ever say, okay, I'm gonna add you like $500 and you supply the materials, or
Uh,
try to ask them to include that in the quote?
we do actually ask them to include it in their quote, and we give them the allowance. Say, hey, will you bid this whole, or we want you to bid this whole kitchen backsplash, top to bottom, from countertop to below cabinet and all the way up the hood, and we want you to bid this for glass at $12 a foot.
Okay.
And so that way they can put it in that way. And honestly, it's in their best interest because no matter what, the tile installer is always going to be able to get a little bit better pricing than us. Like
Yeah.
especially in tile stores.
Yeah. Yeah. And at the same time, when the project is over, like let's say the tile is bathrooms and backsplash are done, and I have, $1 left over tile because they always want, 10% extra for a waste. And then
Yep.
if $1 is left, now I have to go there and pick it up and bring it to floor decor.
The runaround, or what I would do too, Sergey, is like almost get like a little assistant for $20 an hour, a runner. We've done when we used to run materials around. I actually just hired like he was like right out of college, and he was just he was getting it. He was studying construction management, and like he was there for a year. He's just run stuff around for us because I was like, well, $20 cheaper is cheaper than giving it to the tile guy to do it.
Yeah.
And it made it to where a lot of things were getting picked up for me. But it's no matter what, it can't be your time because you have a lot of talent in what you do, and you can't be running pick up tile.
Yeah. But who would coordinate that guy for $20 an hour?
Yeah, that is so a lot of time. Yeah, we had an assistant in the office doing that. Well, our listing broker, we've trained our listing broker and assistant too when they want tile and stuff, they'll actually place the order.
Okay.
Or I have an assistant for our listing brokers that's also like kind of like will place orders for them if they need. Um,
Mhm.
but oftentimes they can be wrong. And you wind up with extras. Yeah, because to order a building materials person that or a sourcer, they're expensive. They're like 85 grand a year
Yeah.
for like a new construction company. But you know what? Yeah, the tile's a tough one because it's always changing out. It's always moving around. And
Well,
then
on my Home Depot orders, I try to call a Pro Desk. I have a guy I always try to order through him. He would build me a quote, and then I would say we're gonna stop by tomorrow for pick it up, and they would pile everything up on the cart, and then we just pull up, 20 minutes, load everything up, everything's ready. We don't have to, walk around the Home Depot 10,000 times and try to find, light switch or whatnot.
yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
I tried with Home Depot, and so um now I'm thinking if any other stores can do that, or I just give it to contractors and have them stop by and pick up materials or buy materials.
Yeah, I would say yeah, with your plumbing, your electrical, all the main components, because that's where there's a lot of parts and
Yeah,
pieces. We make them pick up all those things.
yeah,
Even
for sure.
surface mounts lights. We'll standardize like our surface mount lights with our electricians often. I'm like, hey, what do you got right now? And then I pick one. I'm like, cool, we're good to run with that for 5 months. At that price point. Um, you try to standardize that. The tile and the novelty stuff is what will still hamper you down a little bit. Um,
Okay,
it and yeah, actually, the tile guys don't like making the orders. I do know that. Like I'd like to say we can get them to do it, but they don't like doing it.
yeah,
They'll pick it up
yeah.
though.
Yeah, and I think it's really depending on a contractor. Some contractor don't have any problem to stop by at Floor Decor on their way, but
Yep.
some contractor would make a deal on it.
Yeah, and some just don't want to place the order at all. Now, if I'm
Yeah.
hiring a general contractor, they're going to be buying all that.
Okay, so if general contractor were running the job site, then they would supply all the materials no matter what.
Yes, that's where I'm like, hey, here's your allowances, here's our spec sheet, go source and get it to the site because that's where we're paying them the markup at that point.
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
that's his responsibility to figure that out.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to know. And the other question I have is the change orders. So let's say if I have a budget for every item that I'm gonna do, and then in the beginning when I get in quote, it's in the budget. And then once they start to do stuff, they would say, hey, this is some extra work, we need to do change order. So it automatically go over budget. Um, what can be done in that case? Because
So what I always like to do is like, okay, define what the extra work is, right? And so, like for example, with flooring, I always put in there's some tricks in there, and this will be on one of our calls, like things that I always add in verbiage wise. Install all new pre-finished hardwoods throughout main floor, level floors, paper floors. I put in there because every time I
okay.
don't, it's like the leveling's like, oh, it's another $900 to level.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, but typically I'll just quote it with, hey, ensure floors are level at that point. Now if the change order we can't see inside the walls, that's a different thing. But like if the house has a little slope to it, we're bidding the flooring, then I just try to think about like as I'm walking through, like, ooh, floor's a little crooked. I need to have the flooring guy fix this.
Yeah.
What other ones are you run into? I'm trying to think of all the ones I run into. Recently, you guys have been telling me hot water tanks aren't included, and I'm like, what are you? So now I literally write in every estimate includes a full hot water tank and capitalize. I bold it and I put it in 30 font for them just so they can't
Yeah.
see anymore. But like, what are the ones you run into? Like the flooring's usually a big one.
Yeah, flooring, roof, some plywood, some
Yep.
boards are rotted. Then siding, when they tear off the siding, if there was any leaks, then plywood needs to be replaced. And then when the plywood removed, if it got all the way to insulation, then insulation, some part of insulation needs to be replaced as well.
And I think that's a hard one. That's just an unexpected under the
Yeah.
siding. The roof, we always make them throw in at least a couple sheets in their quote.
Okay.
Like, hey, this includes up to 5 sheets. And I still don't think I ever know really when they're bidding me for the
And
right sheets.
and if they don't use any new plywood, you guys will still just pay full anyways.
Yeah, because it's usually hitting our budget, and it's almost I call it the jam-in method, where I'm just throwing in a couple things. So like a lot of
Okay.
times, you guys, if I'm ever walking through a house, I'll be like, they're hitting the numbers or they're a little bit over, I just start throwing in like, okay, all floors are leveled in this price, or um, this accounts for half the sheeting in the roof. I'll just start throwing things at it just to prevent the change order.
Okay.
And it's always those common ones: sheeting on roof, the siding will come up, leveling floors. Um,
How about tile? Like, let's say if they have subway tile or mosaic tile or big format tile, someone would say, "Oh, this is mosaic tile. We're gonna charge you like $5 more a square feet or something like that because it's much harder to work with."
so yeah, and that's a valid point they have. I've had to talk to my team about that. Like, yes, what kind of tile matters? It's not just the cost of the tile if it's on clearance, it's the install. And so I like to do, just because we typically know what we're putting in a kitchen backsplash, it's going to say glass. It's almost always
Mhm.
going to be glass on that for us, or glass
Okay.
surface. So I'll say install new glass. So we do it with our allowances where, like, in my allowance sheet, it says $12 a foot for tile glass.
Mhm.
Well, because it's at 12, we know it's glass. And like it's once it's above like $5 a foot, we go glass or marble. We just put that in there, or glass or natural stone. If it's usually less than $5, we say ceramic.
Okay.
Because you kind of just have to hedge it a little bit. And then if my team's then trading out the materials for whatever reason off the original budget, or I'm changing it, I need to make sure that, okay, why am I upgrading the floors? Is there a reason? Am I making more money? And if not, it's just not worth doing.
Okay.
Um, Yeah, you guys, what Sergey's just said, for everybody getting in construction, people they charge different for tile. This is why people sometimes run creep on tile. Cutting ceramics a lot easier than cutting natural stone and glass.
Yes.
It takes longer. They have to have different blades. They have to do those things. So they're going to charge you more when you pick that tile out. Or when you do a herringbone, it takes longer than subway. And so the
Yeah.
more custom it is, it does really explode your pricing. And I think that's also part of the reason my tile's gone up so much. We're doing a lot nicer tile jobs.
So at the end, like let's say if we have 150,000 budget and on small things here and there and multiple contractors went over budget, let's say like 3, 4,000, um, would that just be less profit, or would you try to list a little bit more to get that back?
Well, that's where, so in the middle of a project, that's why, so we have our accountants send us out a WIP and a P&L every 30 days on a project. So I can see exactly where we're at on costs and if we're trending over. Once we start going over, or if we go over, then what we do is we recomp the house, look at it, and go, okay, is there any more value to get here? Should we spend even more money on this property and maybe put in a really cool deck and a gazebo, and we can go
Mhm.
for more? And we start evaluating the scope of work again. Now, if we're going over, can we also change the things out? Do I have $4 floors in? I can go to three and
Yeah.
maybe pick up. So we always do that first. If we haven't created more value and the comps haven't changed, and I just went $10,000 over, then I'm going to still sell it for the same price I was planning on selling for. Because just
Okay.
because I went over doesn't mean someone's going to pay me more for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And so that's why we're really big on like making it tangible of like, hey, we're selling our house for more because of A, B, and C. And it is important that your brokers document that on your listings too. Like, let's say your house is listed for 700, everything's 675, but you're going, well, the houses that sold for 675 had LVP flooring and 99-cent tile in it, and I did natural stone and pre-finished. We do an upgrade list on our listings going, this is the features, and so we can
Right.
explain it because most of the buyers, they'll kind of know, but they don't really understand the cost difference, and a lot of times that will cover that cost.
Yeah. I mean, for the project that take about 2 to 3 months, yes, then I have like enough time to kind of go through every week or every 2 weeks
Yep.
through the budget and see what can be changed for the upcoming jobs. But I had my quickest flip was 3 weeks. So I don't think I had time to kind of go
I
through
think
the
you showed me
budget.
that one. You did a lot in 3 weeks too. It wasn't like
Yeah,
you painted and carpeted either.
yeah, I did everything there. I mean,
Well,
it was cosmetic.
and I will say there's going to be some creep when you're moving that fast, regardless. But
Yeah,
you're getting it way back on the hard money side,
yeah, that's true.
typically.
Yeah, I didn't even made one payment on that house, and
It's so when anytime you're moving fast, there's always going to be some sort of creep or like mistakes happen or things are moving fast or sometimes I'm paying more just to get it done fast too. Like I'll throw
yeah,
like right now, if I can get a contractor to finish a job in the next 5 days to get on market, I will throw them like $5,000, $10,000 bonuses
okay,
because I want to hit that spring market. And if I hit June, July, it slows down so much that could be a difference in like 2% in price sometimes. And so there's always a trade-off for that. So I think some of it is if you're getting a house done in 3 weeks and turning it that fast, it's well worth the overage at that point.
yeah,
And so, but yeah, when you are moving fast, you're moving fast. And so I think it's if you're gonna move fast, spend a lot of time prepping your materials right first, going, nope, here's our allowances, we're sticking to these, this is what we're buying.
mhm.
But most of it will be labor and just little misses when you're going that fast, anyways.
Well, that's what I have right now in Edmonds. So I can probably finish by like second week of May to move really really fast, and have my guys there. But it's gonna probably gonna go over budget for reno,
Okay.
or I take extra 2 3 weeks and stay in the budget, and then our listing date will be sometime in June, like first or second week of June.
How much how much are you gonna go over if you're done in April? If you if how much do you think you're gonna go over if you finish that 3 to 4 weeks or quicker?
Probably 10 to 15%,
And what's your total budget?
150.
Okay, so you're about 15 to 18,000 over budget.
Yeah.
Okay, and then what's your loan balance on that property?
I think 750.
Okay, so roughly you're going 15,000 to 16,000 over construction, but you're going to save roughly 7,000 on your interest because you're getting it done almost a month earlier, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And so you're going 7,000 over, which still matters, right? $7,000 on that
yeah,
kind of deal. That's probably like 7 to 10% of the profit sometimes.
yeah.
Um, if it was me, I'd go with exactly what you're doing because I'm trying to hit that market quicker. And I think the extra 7,000 I can maybe pick up or it's going to sell quicker on market, right? Because even the later we get in the summer, the longer it takes to sell too. So you could pick up an extra couple weeks on the cold times, and I'm going to
Yeah.
hedge against the good market. Now, if we're in December, I'm going to be like, I'm going to take my time. It has to do with time. I always look at cost of time and money. So, the 15 to 16 is really half of that because you're picking that up in hard money costs. And then there's the opportunity cost. Is it worth spending it to get to market?
Yeah.
And I think right now I would do that for sure. If
So
I'm going to
is
look
June
at July
is
or
June
August, I'll
yeah,
push it.
is June will be like summer market or still like kind of late spring market?
It's late spring, but usually where I see it kind of really slowing down is like the second week of May. And
Okay.
then I feel it more the second week of June. And then July is usually pretty flat in August, where you got to be the best product out there that's priced
Okay.
well. Um, it's what, but Edmonds also. What's the price point you're in Edmonds? Is it one?
125.
Which is the sweet spot for Edmonds right now. That is where you want to be. I'd say between 115 and 115 and 135 are like ripping. And so
Okay.
Things I would also do, you guys, is if I'm ever wondering that, I would call my broker and say, how many active listings are in the area? Can you check to see how many buyers, or like, I like to know how much a pending, like how many people came through that pending house. And if there was 20, I'm going, okay, I have a lot of buyer demand here. So I feel like the spring market might run a little longer.
Okay.
And so those are good things to check on as you're trying to make some of those decisions. Um, I can tell you by the stuff we've listed in Edmonds, that's a great price point to be in.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well, yeah, I mean, another thing is all my previous flips, I was like rocking and rolling, quick, quick, quick. And now in this one, I'm trying to do a little bit different strategy when I take a little bit more time, but I go, step by step, and maybe I have an opportunity to save a little bit of money on the budget.
yep.
So let's say if I give, material pickup for my contractors or add things like for roofer guys, I need to change the fascia. So maybe I can say, hey, can you guys include it in the price and change, 3 or 4 boards of fascia, so I don't have to pay someone else to do that.
Yeah, and that's yeah, it sometimes it costs you a little bit more because the roofers are doing it, but just faster. And but those are
Yeah.
the things I like jamming in this roof price. Like I got my quote back, and we'll talk about this on the call. I call it the jam in method. I'm like, all right,
Mhm.
I know I got two downspouts that have to go in too. Like throw in
Yeah,
my downspouts and you got the roof because it's such a cheap thing to throw in.
exactly.
And or I want you to uh, fix my couple pieces of fascia board or
Yeah.
I that is my favorite thing to do. Get the quote back and then go, what do I need extra thrown on top? And it has to
Yeah,
be a little bit of stuff. It can't be a ton,
yeah, a
but
little bit, definitely, definitely. And that's exactly why I asked, would you ever say, hey, I'm gonna give you like 200 more, 300 more if you can include few small items, because if someone else needs to come by and do it, it's going to be more expensive because they gotta waste almost half a day or like 6 hours to do that stuff.
I definitely do. I call that the bundle method, where I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, these guys are coming out here. So like if I have my roofers coming out, I'll have them look at um I'll even have them quote gutters sometimes. Gutters, fascia boards, and roofs.
Yeah.
Just to go, okay, well now that's just one less person I have to call too. And it's just
Exactly.
done. And so, or my ciders. I want to have my ciders, if I can, install the windows, side the house, do the window wraps, do all the soffits, and just do all the exterior buttoning up at that point. Or half the times the ciders will do decks. I'm like, hey, do you want to quote the deck too?
Yeah.
And sure, because it keeps it efficient too, because they're working on that as you're working on the inside. And so I love the bundle method. And the more stuff you can bundle in, the better pricing you get. And so, or like my painters, can you do drywall too? Like if they can do drywall and paint, it's usually faster. There's less complaints. It's better quality because it's all in one. And then
Yeah.
also, um, because they're getting more work, the paint cost can come down too.
Yeah, I'll try on this Edmonds one and see how it turns out.
Yeah, no, you always want to pick up, yeah, have the guys pick up the extra things. It's I'm trying to think of all the bundle. I talk about in Project Flip. I actually have like a bunch of different ways I bundle things.
Hmm.
Like I even will bring a general contractor in and have them do the framing, the plumbing, the electrical, the roofing, and that guy costs me a lot more to have him do it because they're professional and they knock it out. But then I'll sub out the rest because it's so easy to control the cosmetics over with that
Yeah,
guy.
of course, of
Um,
course.
and it just frees up a ton of time, and I'm not picking up all these extra things.
Yeah, that's a good idea too. Maybe on the next ones.
Yeah, I love a roughing contractor that will just hammer that. And some guys are really good at that stuff.
Yeah, and now you have less contractor to deal with to try to schedule everyone, make sure everyone's done on time, make sure the next day someone else show up and do stuff. So it's not taking too much time to do that as well.
Yeah, your window installer's not blaming your cider on the set of the windows. Oh, no,
Exactly.
it's the siding. No, it's the window guy. It's like, yeah, you all can't use a level. That's what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, James, thank you. Appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks, bud.
Thanks.
We got Joel, Nicole, Sana. So let's go with Joel. And then, I'm going to answer one question. Sandra says, I'm a stucco contractor. I confess I am not very good with paperwork. You know what, Sandra? It's okay. If you do a good job, well, an investor will help you with it. Oh, I wish you were in Washington because stucco contractors are impossible to find and they're expensive. Um, Bree asks, what's the W-9 for? That's showing that you're making, oh, Victor, uh, Victor answered it. Thank you, Victor. Donnie, I wish it wasn't so difficult for me to get a license in California. Well, it does keep people honest. All right, let's jump over to Joel.
Hey James.
What's up, buddy? How are you?
Good, good, good. Keeping busy. So I have a question about a project that I'm working on right now in Redmond. It's a permitting question. So I've opted, so it's a split entry home. And there was a load bearing wall that we got engineered drawings on and calculations. But I opted to not do the permitting route for that. Just because, like you said, I'm trying to time the market. I want to hit April, like end of April, and
Yeah.
I think if I went through review and kind of went through the full permitting process with Redmond for that, I probably would have added like maybe 3+ weeks.
Redmond can be a little slow.
But what I did do is we got full permits for 2 bathrooms that we updated. So we updated we got a plumbing, electrical, and HVAC permit for the 2 bathrooms. Those have been finalized and inspected and approved. Prior to that, I got a permit for an electrical panel swap, and that's been approved and finalized. I'm kind of like kicking myself a little bit. I don't know. I mean, I opted to be a little more riskier just to try to time it. But I do also know that buyers in that area are a little more detailed. Are there any other permits I could, like over the counter permits I could pull building wise
In
um,
Redmond?
in Redmond? And so right now we're framing and the beams were just put in.
And what permits did you pull already?
So we pulled electrical for a panel swap. And
Okay.
then we pulled an electrical, HVAC, and plumbing for 2 bathroom upgrades. And those are all finalized and inspected
In Redmond?
in Redmond.
Well, I mean, the good thing is they didn't jam you back in because a lot of times in all in one permit, the cities that they're doing all the inspections will go, "Hey, where's your full building permit?"
Mm-hmm. Well, we
Um,
didn't. We actually didn't do construction on anything until we got all those permits finalized. And once we got them finalized, then we
that
we
that
we demoed everything else.
that will work. I think you're gonna be fine, Joel.
Okay.
I would just put on your form 17, were all permits pulled? No, these are the permits that were pulled for what we did, and you should be
Okay.
okay.
And then should I specify that I do have the engineer drawing and calculations and all that, or should I
Yeah,
not
no, I
mention that?
I always like to give that to the buyer too. If we, because sometimes we do open a kitchen wall and we're like, shit, we cannot wait for this, and we get full engineering behind it. We have it stamped, and we're like, hey, look, this is just what we did.
Okay.
Um, and
And is that pretty common with split entry remodels that have a load bearing wall, like that process, or would most? I don't know. I mean, is that what you do usually, or do you do a permit for the structural as well?
um, depending on the city, and how long it's gonna take, like we're doing one in Shoreline right now where we're pulling the full permit on. Um, if it was just like, hey, the house is in good shape, but I'm opening up the wall, I usually just have an engineer come out and give me a stamp letter.
Okay. And that
It's
was pretty much the case here. I mean, it was just dated, and it was actually in pretty good shape. So, We felt pretty comfortable with that.
And I think you're going to be fine on that. Um, when people do see that you did pull a permit, they feel pretty good about it.
Okay.
And
So
so,
just so I just need to be very like I was thinking of being kind of vague on my permit, like when I mentioned the permit in the Form 17, but do you think that's not smart? Do you think I should be very specific on what permits for which and what wasn't pulled?
yeah, I would just say, hey, this is the work we did, and here's the permits that were pulled. 'Cause as long as you tell them, you're covered.
Yeah.
And it's up because being upfront about it, and even you having, I do know a lot of split levels in Redmond do not get permits pulled on
Hmm.
them. And a lot of split levels in general across the state, to be honest. I think you're going to be fine. I would just be like, hey, this is the work we did. Here's the permits we pulled; they were finalized, and here's the engineering for the wall we opened up.
Okay.
And I feel fairly confident you're going to be pretty good on this.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, and I mean I feel pretty good too, but I guess I was just wondering if there was any other permits I could add at this point, but I guess it's not
But now
really.
you're in construction, and that's going to probably toss you into a building permit in Redmond.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because are you changing out the furnace?
No, we're not.
Yeah, I think you're gonna be good, Joel. I can't
Okay.
promise you that, but I would say there's more odds that you're good than less.
Then not. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I felt really, good going into it. It's just sometimes you kind of I don't know, overthink it a little bit. But
No, I mean,
last
you guys, that's always the thing, right? Like, I mean, it's and you guys, we do sell a lot of property for investors, and so we are in all sorts of different scenarios sometimes selling these houses. Um, the biggest thing is we over disclose whatever the buyer sells. We are upfront with people that come through. Like, hey, this is what the scenario is. This is what it is, because we don't want hidden surprises, and we also don't want our client to get in contract and get beat up in their inspection over the stuff because we didn't tell them about it. And so I would say that you're going to be pretty good on this. Like the fact that you do have some is better than a lot of people, I think.
yeah. Okay.
And then what I always do, guys, for whatever reason, if I didn't grab or especially what we tell our clients too, like we always do a pre-inspection, have a re-inspection so they can see that we took the time and care. And we do a lot of extra time punching out the house. So we don't want it to feel weird. Like if there's a bunch of flaws in that, like the drywall, the millwork, the paint, it starts domino affecting through. But if the house looks really good and we've done actions like pre-inspection, sign re-inspections off, it shows that the buyer that we care about what we're selling. And most of the time, people get worried about flippers because they just don't care and they don't feel like they care. You walk through it, it feels weird, it doesn't feel good, it feels slapped together. And it's not because the homeowner probably even want to do it, it's just the contractor didn't do it and the homeowner didn't check the contractor.
Hmm.
And so that's where the red flags come up. But I think you're gonna be good.
Okay. Okay. And then so last I have another question, just a design question.
Yep.
ARV on this is probably about 1.9, maybe
Okay.
2. And you're familiar with Tam O'Shannon, right?
Oh yeah. Yep. I've done a lot of projects in Tam O'Shannon
Okay.
and I lived there. That's where I
Oh,
originally was
nice.
knocking doors at one point.
Nice, nice, nice. So this is the neighborhood right outside Tam O'Shannon. It's called Pitcairn. Pitcairn. It's like a super small little 30 home neighborhood. It's right. So there's
Just up
like
the hill from it.
yes, it is.
Okay,
Yep.
so you're coming down 24th, the busy road is to the right before Tam O'Shannon.
Yep, that's it.
Oh, that neighborhood. Every time I drive by that neighborhood, I get a pit in my stomach. Not because it's a bad neighborhood. It's because I lost a massive deal to the auction there one time.
Oh man.
I had a house that was coolest house. I wanted to move into it when I was in my 20s. I had this awesome it's just a cool house. And I had it for 330
Oh man.
and it got foreclosed and then there went my house.
Yeah.
But
It wasn't meant to be, I guess.
not meant to be. So, but
Um
I still
So I
think
guess
about this house though. For some reason I really liked it. So that's 1.9's gonna, yeah. So that's a good neighborhood though. What's the
yep.
size house that you're selling?
So it's super nice. So it's got like just some features that are specific to this property. So it's on a cul-de-sac. It's a 2550 square feet, 12,000 square foot lot that backs like a green belt. So I already know it's like perfect for a family, and it's a 5 bedroom. Um, so I've got my ideal buyer already kind of for this, and I'm kind of just I'm going hard in that direction, like we could have done the option where we make the master like a suite. We knock down one of the bedrooms and make a master suite, and then like a huge master bathroom and master closet. But that would have left a two bedrooms upstairs. So we opted to have 3 bedrooms upstairs because I think that's might be just a little more family friendly.
How small is that primary bath now though?
The primary, so we were able to put a 7 foot shower
Okay.
in there. It's a decent size.
Okay.
Um,
What do your comps have though? Because in that area you want to be careful because some have 5-piece baths, some have those.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
what did
So
the comps have? More
the
standard size bathrooms?
the comps in that area are like it's hard to find fully renovated homes. Everything there's kind of been updated within the last 5 years and mostly like homeowner updates. You know what I mean? But from what I've seen, most of the comps like that I could find that I was going off of had either like a 4 piece or like a 5 piece or a standard bathroom. A standard bathroom with 4 bedrooms. I decided to go 5 bedrooms with a smaller master bathroom because there's not a lot of 5 bedroom homes in that area.
Okay. Yeah, I don't
So,
think five's that big of a deal. What I think we want to do is just make sure that we just want to make sure in that upper echelon that we're delivering the same amenities like bathroom sizes, floor
mhm.
plan, like for the specs, right? Which if you have a good sized bathroom, you should be fine on that. Um, y- but the bed bath count that's usually going to be kind of in there the same, like the four will be
Mhm.
usually. We just kind of want to match those comps, bed, bath, and then amenities. Um, w your spec level that you're doing in there, because 1.9 for that size house is going to be pretty nice, right?
It is, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Um,
So I'm spending more. Like it's funny. You were talking about tiles. I'm actually, I spent a little more than usual on tile. Like we did herringbone in the master bathroom. We did like a full wall of tile, where it goes from the shower to the whole vanity. So tiles are really dialed in. What do you think about flooring? I was originally planning to do like nicer LVP, but I don't know. I mean, do you think I should spend a little more for the engineered hardwood?
I would say I want to look at the comps.
Okay.
Um, that's what it always comes down to is what is in there for what we think we need on the comps.
Hmm.
I would say at that price point, I'd have to take a look at the data. So that always comes down because floors are a big variance in houses,
Yeah.
and I'm always down to upgrade the floors if I'm going to get the money out of it.
Hmm.
Um, but sometimes it's not in a lot of the comps where I'm like, well, these floors aren't that great. I'm good with an LVP,
Yeah.
and then I'll focus on other things to upgrade.
Yeah.
Um, like do you know what your comps had? Were they like pre-finished hardwoods? Were they LVP or what did they
So
have?
I've seen both.
Okay.
I've seen both. Yeah. I mean, it's just I like a lot of the homes that have been newly renovated, probably within the last couple years, I've seen LVP for the most
At
part.
the 1.9 number.
At the 1.9, like 1.8 to 2 million number. I've
Okay.
been seeing LVP for the ones, yeah, that have been more recently renovated.
You know what? And then I'd be good with it. If the comps have it, then I'm usually good with it. I typically try to step that up a little bit. Um, but if the comps are the comps, I'll go with that for sure. I mean, I've sold $2.5 million houses with nice LVP in it too, because that's just what it called for.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're probably good at the 1.9. I would just say visually, if you're going to upgrade, like, some appliances are good to upgrade, the tiles good, some extra amenities in the bathroom, like a rain head shower with a
Mm-hmm.
7 foot shower, dual heads, and a rain head would probably get you
Yep.
more bang for your buck than floors.
Yep.
But as long as you're already hitting their minimum standard on it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Yeah, you guys actually you sold a house. You guys had a project in across the street from this house probably 3 or 4 years ago. A split entry.
Okay.
I think there was a pool in the back, or not a pool, a basketball, a small little basketball court in the back.
Okay. I'd have to look at it. We've done a lot in that zone.
Yeah.
Um, no, we've definitely done some in that neighborhood for sure. And then we've done them in Brayburn, Tamishan, and all those right around there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, I'm excited for this one. I mean, the neighborhood's hot, but like I said, I'm really trying to hit that April market. 'Cause yeah, I mean, I'm right on board with you. I see the market starting to slow down a bit more, inventory picking up right around that first or second week of May.
Yeah, good news is that's East Side product that's right there, and that should hang in a little bit longer. But yeah, April's because you're also in a family area, so a lot of times people are trying to lock down their new house before, June, July.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely push to get it on market. You guys, anything you can do to get your houses on market in the next 4 weeks, do it. And if you don't, it's all good, you guys. I have lots of houses that are not getting on market in the next 4 weeks. But if I can, I'm going to push for it. Cool, man.
Cool. Yeah, that was it, James. Thanks, man.
Yeah, well, it's like a good one. I do like that zone. You'll be good, dude. There's a lot of buyer pool right there.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right, Ashley, who just joined. Welcome, Ashley. Says question: what advice do you have for someone just starting off in Seattle area? Working with wholesalers. Okay, yeah, I know where this is going already. Working with wholesalers to find projects to flip in a market where deals move fast and get a couple decent bids from contractors. Do you use pure estimates from the template in your underwriting for rehabs to get it under contract or see what the return is, then get actual bids after you have it under contract? If so, what else can you do up front to mitigate risks so the deal makes sure that your rehab budget and estimate is decent? Okay, is this a bit this is definitely a hard thing because when especially you're newer or just in general, you guys, when you don't know something, right? Like even if I go out to a project, I'm like, man, I've never done something like this before. I can't pull the trigger fast because we do need to take our time. And so, and what happens in this market is wholesalers, A, don't give a lot of time because B, they sometimes don't have a lot of time in their contracts to do so and they can't wait for your answer. Or they're just trying to negotiate the crap out of the deal and get the most amount of money out of it and they're trying to pin it down. And so, yes, it can be a little complicated. So when we buy properties, we never have a contractor bid prior. Everything that we do is based on our construction calculator by using rough estimated costs. And then what we also like to do is you can throw on like a 10% contingency on there too to add in some buffering. And so whenever we're buying something where we're moving fast, we'll still run our budgets based on historical cost and what kind of the market rates are. And then we're going to add in that 10% contingency in there. Or if we can't, for example, if I'm walking through a property and I can't get a sewer inspection on it because they said, well, there's no time, I'll throw in $10,000 as a rough estimate. Or if I can't do an inspection on the septic, I assume the worst and I'll put in $30,000 in the septic. And so certain things we'll just budget way heavy on. And then otherwise we add 10% contingencies on to kind of factor in. And so, Ashley, one thing as you are going out to projects too, one really good thing that you can be doing is even if you don't get the deal and the contractor went through, that's where we can kind of really massage your pricing when you go through. So we can take that contractor bid and kind of break it into a price per square foot based on scope of work. So if you have someone going in that bids a house at 100 grand that's 2,000 square feet and it's built in the 70s, and they bid another one and they were just a little slow and they were around 100 grand for 2,000 square feet and it was built in the 60s. We can take an assumption based on price per square foot on those eras of houses, and you can kind of come up with a rough metric that you can be safe on. So let's say the average cost was $60 a square foot between both bids. If you can't get the bid and you want to be protected, you could run your budget at $70 a square foot if it's a similar type of project. So just because you're bidding it right now does not mean you're wasting time. You're actually getting very good information to make you move quicker. Um, but yes, you guys, a lot of times you're not going to have times to get construction bids. And what you have to do is kind of come up with your mock budget and then add on contingencies to it to make sure you're safe. And Ashley, let me know if that answered your question all the way through. Let's see. All right, Nicole. And Ashley, if you have a follow-up question, by all means, you can put your hands up or throw it in the chat box and I'll handle it. Nicole.
So my first question was an easy one. Do you have your contract for California, your contractor contract?
So I do not, because I broke my own rule on that one. And I did not I did not have him sign a contract on that one.
Okay.
Part of the reason, and well, that's just bad business, was I subbed out a lot of things directly on my house too. And he was actually the guy that I originally hired had a pretty limited scope. He was doing the framing, the demo, and then he'd started doing more and do more and more, and then kind of snowballed out. So no, I do not right now.
Okay, no worries. We adapted yours if you want to see our adaptation.
Oh, did you have an attorney look at it in California?
It's not a real estate attorney though. We just had someone like look it over. That's like a friend who's a lawyer, but he's not a real estate lawyer. So
did he like the contract? Lawyers seem to like the contract when they read it.
Yeah.
Did he say it's pretty nasty?
Sorry?
Did he say it's pretty nasty contract?
I mean, he said it was great. He said it was really thorough.
It works.
We had to add some stuff like about, I forget, was it OSHA? I don't know, some kind of liability, like workers' comp had to be slightly different.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we can send you that if you want, but it's definitely not, it hasn't been reviewed by a real estate attorney, so you'll probably still need to pay for that. Second question was, I think we found a great GC. We've signed the contract with him. Also didn't get any pushback at all about like about any of the clauses, but I was surprised even on like the clause about like $500 a day if they're late beyond the schedule. Like we gave them a 1 week, what's the word I'm looking for? Grace. So they told us they get the project done in 9 weeks. We gave them 10 weeks on the contract, and after the 10-week mark, we start charging them. Or we start taking money off of the bid. So that was great. But one thing we didn't get out of him, we got a really good detailed bid. So I feel really confident in his work. He came highly recommended from our actual hard money lender as well.
And which lender did you use down there?
We used ARV. It's a local lender here. Okay. ARV Finance. It's a local lender in San Diego. Yeah, so got great terms, 90, 10, 100. Yeah, really happy with how everything's going. But the only thing we weren't able to get out of our contractor was like a schedule of what's going to get completed when. So for the contract, we just kind of did bi-weekly payments, and then a holdback for the punch list. So my only thing is, because we didn't do a construction schedule, I'm a bit concerned about how we make sure that we are, following our timeline and start holding back money if we're falling behind schedule. Like how to even try to track that.
Okay, so Yeah, and it is hard because sometimes they don't want to give you a detailed schedule because it is like new construction, they can give a lot better detailed schedule, right?
Right.
Because flipping sometimes they're like, dude, you gave me this tight schedule anyways. I'm gonna move guys around as I see fit. And and definitely some of my guys do stuff really weird where I'm like, why are you doing that? But that's just the way they do it, and it works fine, and they do it that way. And so what I do, and the good thing is you know, a you have a good bid with estimates on it, right?
Yeah, really good, really detailed.
And so what I like to do is you can copy and paste that into an Excel sheet, right? With the numbers.
Well, so this is the really annoying thing. I'll have to build it manually. He purposely does not give the Excel away. It's in a PDF. He's like, the amount of flippers who've asked me if they can buy this off of me, I do not sell it. I do not give it away. It's mine. And so I'll have to manually recreate it, but I could.
Okay, so you don't need the whole thing either. It can be also by blocks of item.
Okay.
And so like what we like to do is, especially for a more professional like this guy, it's going, okay, well, framing, right? So let's say framing 10,000 on there. We do a percentage of if there's no schedule. So it's like, well, okay, you were supposed to, you've gotten 50% of the way done with your framing. So then next to it, you can put 50% and it will calculate out, well, hey, you've spent this much on the project.
Right.
Or demo's 100% done, 10 grand, that's done. Framing, we're at 50%. So he's got a $5,000 credit. He got the roof 75% of the way done. He's just waiting on fascia boards and gutters or 80%. Then we put 80 and that kicks out because I'm more
Right.
about dollars spent and completed. And so that's typically how I'll do it as a percentage of completion. And then we'll do it on draw basis. So if I've gone through and added that up, he's 20% of the way through, he's due for another check. Because what's the size of your project?
What, like square footage or price?
Cost wise.
Cost wise, the quote came in at 214K.
Okay, 214. So we're probably going to break that up into typically 6 draws.
Right.
It's going to be 10% down, then
Yep.
20%, 20%, 20%, 20% final 10.
Yeah. And the other thing I liked about him actually was he was like, you're not legally even supposed to pay me anything down. So I don't expect anything until the first week is done.
Yeah, well, then this guy has a legitimate business, is what he
Yeah.
has. Because most guys can't start. And so, I mean, that's a good thing. You seem like you hired the right guy for this site. But that's how I would do is just percentage of completion. And
Yeah.
so, like every week, you could walk your job site with that spreadsheet and go, you know what? This week they finished 50% of the framing. They got 20% of the plumbing done. They had, electrical is now at 10% because they started rough-ins. And it'll start to tell you dollars spent. And then, my whole thing is it's got to be inside. Like, hey, I gave you the 10%. That's now spent. So now I'm going to give you the next 20%. Okay, now that's spent. So I'll give it. And so I get them to agree on it that way.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Because with the contract, with the way we laid it out is we kind of laid out like I think it's five or six payments, 10% after the first week is done, 20% for bi-weekly, like every 2 weeks for the next 8 weeks, and then the 10% hold back.
Yeah, so it's that and that works, right? And you can just do it based on percentage of completed work too,
Right.
or money spent.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. I feel like I had one other one, but I can't remember it right now, so that's fine. Oh, I know. You were saying, when you're sending checks, you kind of put in the memo line, final payment, and that counts as acceptance. But what if you're not doing checks? What if you're doing wires?
Valid point, because I send wires all the time. But honestly, I only wire the guys I know really well.
Yeah.
And if you know what though, the contractor in California, I did cut him a check on his last payment. I gave him wires throughout the whole thing. On the very last payment, when I met him there, I cut him a check and put final payment on it, paid in full.
Okay.
And so a lot of times that final check is because it's that last holdback amount you can do it with. But with some of our people that we send wires to, like we know them really well. We're not too worried about the lien issues. We got to watch them for a bunch of other things, but not the liens. And the wire you're not going to be because they're not acknowledging it.
Right.
You could have them put it on the final invoice saying once paid, all work has been paid in full, no other
Okay, yeah.
bills due. You could have them write that on that invoice, and that would be a substitute for that.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. One other question, I just remembered what it was. So this guy, my everything's gone really smoothly so far. Seems really detail oriented, like loving working with them. They actually, this contractor flips for a big flipper in town. I got the contact out of my hard money lender because my hard money lender really likes me. And he was like, please don't share this contact with anyone. We managed to
What's his
somehow,
name?
the contractor,
Yeah.
there, his name's Travis.
Oh,
The
you're not supposed
company.
to tell anybody, Nicole.
Yeah, so I'm just like, I guess I'm a little bit my own. I feel like I'm worrying about things that haven't happened yet, but it's like, well, he works for a huge flipper in town. We're gonna be small fish. Like, I'm just like worried about how we're gonna be prioritized or like how if there's things we should watch out for.
Um, I think it's just keeping to the schedule. I mean, from the other side where I'm the big flipper and people sometimes are using my people, I'm the one that gets forgotten about because they just know I always have work for them and they're trying to impress the new person.
Okay.
So I will say volume doesn't mean efficiencies. It kind of means the opposite. But uh, I would say, as long as they're on site, I mean, don't worry about it until just communicate well with them
Right.
and talk to them. And one thing I would do too is like as you get going, like, hey, if you finish it by this date, not only will I not charge you a fee, I'll give you this bonus.
We already put that in the contract. Yeah, we put in the
Okay,
same kind of, we used what you talked about last
okay,
week or the week
cool.
before. And the penalty we're assigning, we're also giving it as a bonus if they finish early for every day they finish early.
Yeah, and that's fair, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I just the best way to do it is just walk your job site weekly,
Oh yeah, I mean it's a 5 minute drive from my house. I plan to be there multiple times a week.
Yeah, and if you're seeing and try to do one walk with him, if he's a busy guy, he's not going to
Yeah.
want to walk it every day, but like once a week, like, hey, is there a time that me and you can just walk for an hour
Right.
once a week? What day works good for you? Just to get the week going or wrap the week up and get the next one going.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, the more you can be on site, the better.
Yeah, yeah. I plan to be there quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
That poor
I'm feeling
guy,
like
you're
I'm like
5 minutes down the street. He has no idea what he's in for.
Yeah, I'm just like I feel a little too lucky having gotten this contact and just like his pricing's been great. His contract was super detailed, or his scope, I mean, was super detailed. When we met him in person to go through the scope, we called out all these. He told us like our scope was one of the most detailed he's gotten from an investor, so it was great. We went back and forth on a bunch of little things. Just really liked the way he laid things out, and I'm kind of like a little bit like this feels a little too easy.
Yeah, you know what? And you know what? Maybe the first one will be, and it might be different next time. You never know. But it's the one thing I will say though: honor the hard money lender's request. Don't refer them out to anybody.
Yeah, I won't. Yeah,
Just no matter what you do, don't do that.
Yeah,
That, that,
it's a
that
small
happens to me a lot. Where I'm like, all right, I'm gonna give you this person. I'm gonna hook you up here. Don't refer them out, and then all of a sudden they're at 3 other jobs. I'm like, why? It's you're causing my pricing to go up.
No, we want to keep it for our job, so we won't.
Yes. Yeah. And it's just also the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So, if someone's doing you solid, do them a solid back.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right. I have a couple more questions in here, and then I'm gonna jump over to Sana next. Actually, these are more. Look at you guys all chatting. She's now products for different locations due to availability specs. Okay, so, Sana,
Hey James,
how are you?
good. How about you?
Good.
Yes. We are so excited to do our first flip starting from next week.
Oh,
So
are
this
you
property is in Edmonds, like 2,500 square feet, split level.
okay? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it currently has like 5 bed, 2.5 bath, 1.5 bath. I'm sorry, I'm confused. So it has like 5 bed and 2.5 bath with 3 bedroom, 1.5 main floor and 2 bed, 1 bath lower floor.
I mean, that's a
So
great
based
layout to
on
start with.
Yeah. Based on the comps, we are planning to combine 2 bedrooms on the main floor and convert the 0.5 bath into the master five piece master suite.
Okay, so yeah, because right now it's one of those tuck behind showers, I'm guessing, like a small master bathroom.
Yeah, there is no full bathroom. It's just like a powder, just toilet and the vanity. And
Okay,
that's too,
got it.
it's like super small. Like we can't even walk in there.
Yeah, and that's I mean, that's so you're going to be two bedrooms, two bath on the top floor, and two bedrooms, one bath in the basement.
Yes.
Okay. And that's a good layout for that area. I mean, preferably you guys, we always want three bed, two bath up, but most of the time it doesn't work. I just sacrificed one in Shoreline where I was like, dude, I was trying to keep it and I just gave up on it. And what with the big primary. I would
Okay.
say, what's the sale price on the exit price you're going for on that one?
1.2.
1.2. So yeah, that buyer is going to be kind of your entry level tech people that are just settling down and moving in the suburbs. So they're coming. The reason I like that plan is because the demographic, and these are always good things to look at, guys, when we're selling, like who's buying the house? Well, typically it's someone that lived downtown in a nicer condo building that worked in tech. They're now settling down, getting out of the city, but they still expect the same amenities that they had at their newer building, which is that better bathroom, bigger walk-in closet. So I do think that's a good plan for that price point.
Yeah. So for this, probably we need to pull plumbing and electrical permits, right? Because we're converting zero point 0.5 to 5 piece master.
Yes, you should.
Okay. So at what stage should we pull the permits? And does the inspector is going to call out on bunch other stuff? Like if we pull the permits?
So yeah, the things that we always want to look at, guys, when we're pulling permits strategically is, um, talk about this in Project Flip, researching the jurisdictions, right? Because every city's different. So like in the city of Seattle, you can usually get your electrical, your plumbing permits separate. That you can pull your permits a little bit more separate there. Tacoma's the same way.
Okay.
In certain cities like Edmonds, Redmond, Bellevue, they're all in one cities where they're inspecting everything. And
Got it. Okay.
so what happens on those is they're gonna probably go, hey, where's the rest of your permits? Are you open up your kitchen walls and stuff too?
Yes, that's second question. Like, if we want to open up the kitchen and add an island.
Okay. Um, so they're if you're gonna pull the electrical and plumbing, they're gonna probably look for those other permits.
Okay.
And so what I would probably do, or this is what most people would do, they're either like not to pull the permit, which I don't really advise to do on that house, um, or you can apply for the building permit because you're not moving many structural walls around. Like creating that bathroom and closet doesn't really move any structure because
So
you're,
as we're combining two bedrooms, probably we have to break down the two closets that are connecting the two bedrooms.
yes, but those typically, actually, you know what? That's funny. You just said that because I just laid a bathroom out like that and I did it on purpose a certain way. So I'm going to pull it up right now. I sent it off to the contractor this morning.
Okay.
And this isn't the fanciest drawing. This is one that they'll fix, but I gave them the ideas with the dimensions. So let me
Hmm.
pull this up. So there's because I want to show you something. If you set your walls at a certain distance, or not distance, I'm going to show it. Hold on, let me just grab it. Okay, now I'm trying to find it. Hold on, I know I sent it because. There we go. All right. So how I laid this bathroom out, this isn't the fanciest layout, but you guys, so things that I want to look at, you see
Yeah.
yeah. So can you see this wall here? So we have a bedroom, bedroom 3 and bedroom 2, right? We can, we combined bedroom 2 with bedroom 1 over here. So the closets were dead center where this door came in. So this
Okay.
here isn't structural because what I want to try to lay this out is this, see this main line where all the bedroom doors are lining up on? So see this, can you see my mouse?
No.
My little hand? Can you guys see this?
No,
No?
I can't see the mouse.
Weird. Right now, can you see my mouse now?
No.
Weird. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so you see how these stairs come up right here though? It says
Yes.
up and down.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in a split level or tri level, all the bedrooms and bathrooms are gonna line up on one wall coming through here, right? And then the other, your hallway, right? Your two major
Yep.
walls on both sides of your hallways.
Okay.
That's what we want to plan around because this is our main structure. So anything on the center, this is all not structural. And so when I laid out this bedroom in the back, even
Okay.
though I didn't really want my bathroom to be this size, I made it off that frame wall off the hallway because if I'm not moving that wall and I'm just putting a doorway in, I'm not moving any structure at that point.
Okay.
And that's where it will be. Now, if I moved the wall back to adjust it to make the bedroom bigger, which I would prefer on this house, to be honest, it could trigger all sorts of different engineering and review.
Hmm.
And so I opted to have the layout that I didn't really love, but it works fine for resale because it gets it way done faster.
Okay. So basically, you've combined bedroom 1 and 2, and then you did not move the wall for the bedroom 1 so that you don't have to move any structure.
Yes, and it keeps it simpler for permit review.
Okay. Okay.
Now, if it's a really expensive house and I'm trying to perfect it, I'll just do it, right? And I got to make the right plan. Um, and so what I would do is if you're gonna pull electrical and plumbing, you're probably gonna need a building permit for that.
Okay.
But you can start working on that right away because you're really just opening a kitchen wall. It should be a simple permit that should it should maybe take 2 to 3 weeks there to get.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I would submit, but you can start working already.
Oh,
So
we can do the demo before even getting the permit?
you're not supposed to, but
Okay.
we do all the time. And as long as it's submitted in, then we feel pretty good about it. Or what we'll do is we'll have an electrical permit pulled on the property, like a panel swap out from the
Okay.
electrician. So a permit's open on it, and then we submit the rest of the building permits in. And so
Mhm.
that floor plan that I'm showing you, that I just showed you, we're submitted for permits. We're waiting for them, but we're already doing the work. And so by the time now, what we are doing, you guys, is we're keeping it very clean on the outside. We're not ripping anything apart on the outside just to not cause any issues. And we're focused on the inside. So by the time our permit's issued, we're going to be able to call for inspections for framing and plumbing.
Oh, okay.
And so, but we did pull a panel swap out permit on that too. So we have one open permit on the job site we've submitted. So we're going to get everything inspected. We're just trying to get a jump start.
Got it. I don't think this would need like any panel swapping. So should we still pull that so that like there's an open permit?
Do you need a roof?
No.
Okay, no roof.
And
You don't
to
have to
that,
pull the open permit if you don't need it, we just try to do it as a preventative thing. But I think and you do risk a little bit when you do it this way, but honestly, when we're submitting for permits and stuff, it's if they're already in, we can just say, hey, we started demo, we submitted, then the city can see it. Oftentimes, like, okay, they did submit. We'll stop working now and then we'll get to the review.
okay.
It's more of like a little slap on the wrist rather than a red tag.
Okay.
And I can't promise that, but that's been my experience. And then when we're doing that too, I always like to just go talk to the neighbors, say, hey, we're submitting for permits, we're getting started. Here's my cell phone number. If you need anything, call me directly, because usually it's a neighbor that calls.
Okay.
And
Got it.
so, just be super nice, introduce yourself. And then, typically if your contractors aren't making a mess in the yard
Mhm.
and they're focused on the inside doing their work, you've submitted for the permits, you should be in the clear. I can't promise this by any
Yes.
means. Um,
Okay.
but it's if you have the wrong neighbor, you have the wrong neighbor, or just randomly if a guy drives by, he drives by. But typically you're going to be pretty good because it's already submitted in. And Edmunds isn't too slow on the review for that.
Okay. So far I want to act as a GC, but I don't have the license. So earlier you've mentioned like we can only do two trades to do a flip in Washington, right?
That-
So does it have to be two trades at the same time or for the entire project?
for the entire project.
Ah,
That's
okay.
how the code reads. And I will say I do know a lot of flippers that don't have that license.
Okay. So do you suggest me getting one?
Um,
Because we have to pull the permits on this.
well, they're not going to actually, well, because you can pull a homeowner permit on it.
Okay.
And a lot of times what they want is a business license, actually.
Oh, so this property will be under LLC.
Yeah, so what they're probably going to want is your LLC to be registered with the city of Edmonds.
Oh,
It's
okay.
kind of like it's a dollar grab. They do this all the time now. Like Redmond makes every plumber, every electrician, they have to have a business license with Redmond just so they can make a couple $100.
Okay.
And so they might, I can't remember if Edmonds requires that or not. But
Okay.
I would just go in as or you could hire an architect to submit too for you.
Oh, okay.
Because you're gonna need engineering on that kitchen wall.
Oh, got it. Okay. So if it's even I so how to identify that whether if I need an engineer or not?
That's more, I could look at if you had a picture of it, I could kind of ballpark it for you, but again, it should be kind of looked at by an engineer.
Okay.
Because you don't want to guess, but really it will be how your trusses are running in your ceiling. So
Okay.
if you took some photos of your attic up there in the wall, I could probably give you a pretty good ballpark on it.
Got it. Okay. Probably when I go next time, I'll try to take that.
Yeah, and then throw them in the Facebook page, and I can kind of say, "Hey, this is what I'm seeing here."
Okay, sure. Definitely.
But I,
And
but
I
but
have like more
you can't
questions.
take my word for. I'm not an engineer. I'm just gonna say this
Yeah.
is what I'm seeing.
Yeah, sure, definitely. So this property has like a roof leak at some point. So there is like a little bit water damage. Like some of the joists are rotten.
Okay.
Uh,
Oh, and then they replace the roof after.
yes.
Okay.
So what would you suggest? Like just drywalling up, or do I have to replace the joists?
I would need to see photos, but
Have
typically what you can do is if there's a little bit of water damage, you can sister in. Let's say that the trusses are running like
okay.
is it the joists or the trusses?
It's the joist. I've sent you the photo in
Oh,
the
is it
chat.
in the group?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see. You're gonna want to. Okay. Oh, so it's around the chimney as well. Oh, sorry, I'll pull this up. So it's where the chimney was, it looks like.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is you guys a common spot where you'll see water damage because the flashing will give way and it kind of drips in. And so, really, what the cheapest solution to this is, I mean, this isn't, what's above this right here? The roof?
Yeah.
Oh, is this a deck roof or a flat roof?
So looks like they've done an addition at some point and made it a sunroom
Okay,
above the garage.
got it. Okay. Yes, they enclosed a porch essentially, or a deck.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's not uncommon. And so what I don't like is there's a little bit of water still here, right?
Mm.
And so what I like to do in this scenario is I'll have my contractor get a 2x10, the same wood, and they slam it in, and then we cut that one out and then just replace it. So they kind of put it in and pull this one out.
Okay. So they
Another,
just join it to something else. Like,
yeah, or they can butt them together too, so it
okay.
re-supports it. And then typically what I do, because I don't like wet wood like that, especially for inspectors, is we'll shoot it with a little bit of bleach, but then we'll hit it with Kills primer.
Okay.
And then it kind of primes it all out. And then, I would just say, hey, roof from previous seller, there was a small little roof leak. This is what we did to repair it.
Oh, so we have to take photos in advance and cover it up and just tell the inspector that we have done this.
Um, wait, I don't think that's even going to be on your building permit, to be honest.
Okay.
So I wouldn't really worry about throwing all that on your building permit. That will just kind of slow things down. Um,
Okay.
you know, but it's a pretty simple fix right there. Just have them put that 2x10 up next to it, pull the other one out. You're good. Put new, and then I just like the wet wood above in spots. I just like to make sure it's gone, like it's dried out. And so the Kills
Okay.
primer will seal that out.
So what's that? Kills primer?
Yeah, it's called Kills Primer. You guys, Kills Primer is your best friend for smell and mold. Um, and they have different ones. And the reason I like shooting this is because it kind of kills any kind of mold in there too, so I feel good about it.
Okay.
Let me show you. I'm throwing it in right here. You guys, cat pee. Um, I don't know if you guys were following my shit level house. That was a bad one. So we Kills primered the whole basement. It actually wasn't that cheap, but I just it felt gross to me, so I just needed to do it. Um, here we go. It's right here. There you go. There's the link in there for you on the primer.
Yeah. Got it. Okay. Okay. Kills primer. And so that I have like a few more questions. Like, so the basement has like no ceiling. I mean, has no drywall in the ceiling, but it has like really nice wood slates. I can see the pipes, wires, and the ducting running around. So what would be the uh, like, how can I cover this up? Like, if I don't want to do the drywall because it's not included in the initial budget.
Oh, you have like exposed wood.
Yes.
Okay, like the mid-century wood.
Yeah. It
Okay.
looks like more industrial because it runs like pipes are running and the ducts are running.
Yeah, so you can kind of play into that a little bit. And then what you do is you can kind of run conduit. So entry wood basement. I'm gonna get you a picture. So like conduit, you can kind of run kind of decorative conduit to hide some of the electrical and stuff. Let
Okay.
me in it because the wood does look nice.
Yeah,
Um,
it looks really nice and it also it's also add expense to do the drywall now.
yes. I'm trying to get you a good photo of what this looks like because what you want to do is really bundle your wires and everything so it's very clean all the way through because you
Hmm.
don't want it to feel unfinished. Um,
But we cannot do any lighting, right? Like there'll be just like standing lights. So what if we want to do the lights?
well, you could do sconce lights in the walls. But you can
Okay.
also, I'm trying to get you a photo. It's all about how you tie it all together. And oh, look at this. Here we go. I just found a blog from someone that did a really cool retro basement that didn't drywall their lid. Look at this. This is great. Um, okay, because this will show you kind of the lighting that they did in there. Because you can kind of run track lights that are more decorative and it will make it look a little bit more finished. But you want to have your electrician run all your, you just don't want a bunch of loose wires everywhere, right? So they can kind of run a bolt through and then put a couple off to where it's just a couple lines off, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And and so what, there we go. I just put that in. This kind of talks about what they did to an unfinished basement, and I can see they did it in kind of a cost-effective way. It's a good little blog,
Mhm.
actually. And then you can see the ceiling, how they did it. And you'll notice like how they kind of ran their wires and their cans strategically, so there's not a bunch of loose wires everywhere. Or when they
Yeah.
ran their wires, they ran them kind of up in the joist, and they painted the ceiling same as the wires, so it's just not as
Mm.
noticeable.
Okay.
So there's actually a bunch of photos in here for you too.
Okay.
And you can do like little decorative cans so it looks a little cleaner. Um, because it's like it will come across bad or it will come across really cool. So it's about like the cans that you select
Mm-hmm.
that are a little bit more decorative, and then how you run your wires and keeping it clean. It's kind of like, like with a TV, right? You know how like some people just hang their wires down, there's wires everywhere, and you see them on
Yeah.
the bottom of the TV, and then some people put them in a nice cable wire coming all the way down, or like your
Yep.
computer too. We want to go with the cable wire look. So it's clean, it's done, and it's not nearly as noticeable.
Got it. So that's not nothing against the code, right? Usually because the exposed wire.
No, that's just Romex. So you're good.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Okay. And also this property was built on like 1962. So should I get like asbestos and lead tested beforehand, like before applying for the permits or anything? It has
Um,
popcorn ceilings.
y- y- you should. I don't know if
Okay.
everyone does.
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay. Think that's so. And
And your popcorn ceiling probably has it. I mean, that I would almost just have them just having a abatement company just take it out.
okay, perfect.
I
Okay.
mean, and you
So
could have like,
you
and
have
so
to take
one
the
thing,
popcorn
you
ceilings
don't have
out,
to
right?
go like all invasive. You can grab a little sample off of it and take it to a testing center, and they're
Oh,
everywhere. If you
okay.
just Google asbestos testing center, drop it off, and if it tests live, then you have it abated out.
Oh,
So you
okay.
can avoid the
So,
whole survey and all those other things that are going on.
hmm. I can do that beforehand because it's either way interior, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Yes, that answers all my questions. Thank you, James.
Hey, congratulations,
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Purdy, and then Donnie. Oh, Michael put something in there. Just make sure you know if it's water-based or oil-based, depending on the paint being used. Yeah, that is important for the kills. Most of the time, we use kills on the inside stud walls, and we're insulating and drywalling over it. It's more to seal smells and grossness. And so I don't shoot kills on drywall too often. It's usually like on the studs. But yes, it is important because I think kills is almost always oil based, if I remember right. But I could be wrong on that. Birdie, how are you?
Hey James, I'm good. How are you?
Doing good.
Yeah, I had a question about is it a good idea to get multiple contractors to come bid at the same time? I was talking to someone and they were like, "Oh, you should uh, always do that." But I was like, can it piss off contractors that like,
I wouldn't do them at the same time.
okay,
Same day, if they're at the same time, it's going to go poorly for you.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's
what I
because
thought. But they
it's
were like, you will come to know how they function and they might give you better pricing because they know they're competing against other people.
no, what I would say is you can let them know that, hey, just I'm getting a couple estimates and I'm
Hmm.
going to collect the bids and make a decision this week. But at the same time, it gets really awkward, and I just wouldn't. And also, you want to take that time to get to know the people a little bit too,
Hmm.
and so it allows you to kind of get a read for yourself as well. So I would avoid that.
Okay. And so you were talking to about like homeowner pulling a permit, but does that increase the liability for us as a flipper if we pull permits ourselves as homeowner?
It will
Okay.
increase the liability because you're not going to have a licensed and bonded company on there. So it could, I guess it depends. if you pull the permit, but then you hire a licensed and bonded electrician to come in and do it, you're still pretty covered that way.
Okay.
If you have like a journeyman electrician that works for another company that's coming over to knock it out, which a lot of people do for cost,
Mhm.
that's where you're not going to have that coverage because it is under the homeowner.
Okay.
But you also in your disclosure just disclose I pulled a homeowner permit. We did a lot of the work ourselves with some of our friends and it was inspected, so it looks good. But it's a buyer beware. They gotta verify it too.
Okay.
So, and most of the time people feel pretty good about it because it's being inspected, but liability, yes, if it's in your name, the more things in your name, the more liable you're gonna be.
Okay. Yeah. Uh, the other question I had was I was actually I was looking at on-market properties, and some of them on paper seems decent, like a little bit lesser than what they're listed for. But I to go see them, uh, like do I have to sign an exclusivity agreement uh with one of the agents? I actually talked to like 10 agents or something, and some of them were actually good and they said they flipped and they almost agreed to sending it the way that I wanted it sent, but they haven't sent me anything so far. So I don't know which one of them actually to go with.
Oh,
So
because you haven't signed a commitment with them.
yes,
Uh,
so if I
so
go with one of them and then that deal doesn't work out and I get stuck with them, even though somebody else will probably send me a deal eventually. So I just wanted to see how to manage that situation.
well, you can terminate that agreement at any time.
Okay.
And so you can terminate it. And the one thing I always tell people too is like, hey, I really like working with you. I want to work with you. I'm looking how you're sending me things. I'm loyal to anything that you send me. But if for
Mhm.
some reason, if some other broker sends me a deal that you haven't sent me or we haven't looked at, I have to go with them.
Okay.
Because sometimes brokers do like, oh, why I put my finger on you, so you're mine now. It's like, well, no, it's if you find them a deal. And so you can terminate that agreement for any reason. And I always just be transparent. Just say, hey, look, I really like you are the person I'm looking for. I'm trying to get my first deal done. So, if another broker sends me something though, and you haven't sent it to me, I probably have to pursue that with them.
Mhm.
But anything that you send me, and I'll, you will be my person on this. Um,
Okay.
but just be transparent with them on that. And if they're like, well, no, that's unacceptable, then I don't want to work with that person anyways. Like,
Okay.
I'm one of the people that always say, hey, find a deal wherever you can find, and I sell deals.
Mhm.
I'm like, just make sure that you can check them and that they're actually deals. So a lot of our clients, they'll buy property elsewhere too, but they just don't feel as comfortable not buying from us because we're so much more thorough. And
Okay.
so even though they will, sometimes they still kind of stay with us for a lot of it. And that's okay. Like it's, you got to go where the deal is.
Okay. So just pick one and then let them know that, hey, if this doesn't work out and somebody else gets me a deal, I will go with them instead of you. So this is not like I can only work with you right now.
Yeah, just say anything that you send me and we are talking about, I will work with you for sure. Because what
Mhm.
they're trying to do is not send you something and then you call the listing broker directly and then write it up with them and just say, hey, anything you send me that we go over, I will be having working through you. But I just want to make sure like if some other random broker sends me a deal that you hadn't sent me, I'm gonna have to pursue that.
Okay.
And just, but anything you send me, you don't have to worry about it.
Okay, because these were things that I myself was looking at, like they are not sending me. Like I think there's a shortage of deals here or something because I'm not getting anything from
But there should be
wholesalers.
more. Colorado's got more inventory. I heard there's some deals out there right now.
I don't know. I talked to like 4 or 5 wholesalers. I'm not getting much from them either, and like none of the agents are sending me anything. So I'm like, where are all the deals right now?
It's Yeah, it's finding the right broker too, because I hear that a lot in Seattle, and we do a lot of deals. and it's just just also finding the broker that knows how to look at things correctly is the big key.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's and I think some of them maybe are looking for a little bit of loyalty back to from you too. Like, hey, this is what I think once you sign one agreement, you'll be a lot better too. They'll like get you more things. And that's the thing. If they're not sending you anything after you sign your agreement, say, hey, I'm
Mhm.
gonna have to terminate this agreement. Unfortunately, I'm just not seeing anything from you.
Okay. Okay.
And but yeah, the wholesalers, it will always be you can talk to them, but once you find a good one, it's just good to text them every 4 or 5 days. Like, hey, just checking in with you, see if you have anything. Because wholesalers are very whoever's in front of them first.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, you can call one week. I mean, it happens all the time. I'll talk to a guy. I'm like, hey, this is what I'm looking for, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, he sells it. And I'm like, wait, you didn't call me. He's like, oh, sorry. It's just check if it's a good one, like that you're like, hey, these people are doing deals. Just say,
Okay.
hey, just checking in to see if you have anything.
Okay. Just keep following up basically every couple of days with them.
Yeah, it's like wholesaling is like the opposite of sales. Usually salespeople have to call the client to sell it to them, but
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately in our world, we have to call them.
Okay.
But that will change at some point. So,
Okay. And I was just thinking about this because I wasn't getting anything, but is it a good idea to like try to do your own marketing for deals and like how much does that typically, how much does the expenditure on that cost, like to even find a deal?
um, you have to work it to spend money on marketing for off market.
Mm-hmm.
You have to run it like a business. So one thing about the wholesaling is yes, it you have to stay on it all the time. And like, for example, when we spend money on a leads, if our salespeople don't call them back within 5 to 10 minutes, the deal's gone. Like if they're just disappeared. And so it's a matter of how much you're ready to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I was gonna do it and if I was in your, I would stick with direct mail in a
Okay.
very specific area that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't go like, I wouldn't buy leads because you're gonna get them everywhere. And
Okay.
because you want to be, if I remember right, a couple specific area codes of Colorado.
Yes. Uh-huh.
And so, like when you want to be specific, that's good. That's a good buy. Like, but you have to focus what you want. But when you can buy leads online, but then you're going to get all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
Call centers are going to get you all sorts of different types of leads because they're
Mm-hmm.
just calling through volume. Whereas direct mail, you can scrub your list and get it fairly small, right? To where you're going, okay, I want to look for people who have owned their house for longer than 20 years, that have a loan to value of less than 50%, that um, the buildings are in average condition or less,
Mm-hmm.
and that have been in foreclosure, or just that the demographic that we're looking for, that's going to be a smaller list. And if you just steadily drip them with mail, you're going to have more luck for you for what you're looking to do. But it costs, typically, you're going to be spending like 60 cents a piece of mails. Even, postage has gone up even more now. So it's like $1 a piece of mail to spend. And you have to usually mail that person 6 to 8 times.
Okay.
And so it is an expense that's going out. I think from what I know about Denver and Colorado, the market has slowed down a little bit, which is okay. There's more
Mm-hmm.
inventory. I think having a killer broker negotiating a deal on market's probably the right thing to be shooting for because it seems like there's more on market than off right now down there.
Yeah, I mean, I
It's,
see a bunch of them, but like they're listed
oh
quite
yeah.
high.
Great call, Victor. Purdy, have you met Ruben from our group?
I did talk to Ruben, yes, and
Okay.
yeah, Ruben hasn't sent me anything either.
He's
I met with him.
yeah, because he does get off market deals and deals too. Okay, so you did meet with Ruben. All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, someone should be, I mean, there has to be no matter what, right? Like if there's like we know inventory has like doubled in Denver. It's
Yep.
gotten a lot heavier. That means someone just has to ask the question enough to get a deal. Because statistically, there will be, if you ask 25 people, you're going to get one. And I wouldn't spend your money on if I was you, I wouldn't spend on direct mail right now on those things. If anything, I would just call a listing broker that has the listing and say, "Hey, look, I've looked at this property. I want to come out and tour it, but just so you know, I'm an investor and I think I'm going to need to be at this price. And I just want to make sure if we're in this range, I want to come out and take a look at it with them. You'll have more success doing that. And then you can work on the underwriting once they kind of get closer to your number. I mean, you want to prelim underwrite it, and then we can square up their numbers because then you're working with a listing broker that can discount their commissions to make the deal work. They want to get it gone. And you're kind of already throwing out the number that works for you already. And if you ask that 30 to 35 times on
Mm-hmm.
properties that have been on market for longer than 30 days that are fixtures, I
Mm-hmm.
guarantee you get a deal faster than you will if you're sending direct mail.
Okay.
When you have a market to start bringing on more inventory, it
Uh-huh.
goes into this kind of stall out mode, and it's the
Yep.
best time to hit for lower properties.
Okay. Yeah, I'll try that.
Yeah, I was with Dave Meyer yesterday driving some stuff, and he was telling me that he's like, dude, there's actually some decent multifamily deals in Denver right now he's looking at. So they were in six caps. He's like, you never see a six cap there.
Yeah, there's a lot of inventory here right now.
Yeah, so that's just something to be conscious of too, right? And
Yep.
but I would say that means you're gonna have more opportunity to rip a deal on market when there's more stuff because there's sellers that want out, and if there's that much inventory, low showings, they get nervous, they want to move.
Okay. Yep. I have a bunch of numbers already, so I'll start calling them.
I think you'll do better that way than paying. I don't think you need to spend money right now on that.
Okay.
No.
That sounds good. And the last question I had was, is there any benefit to going with like local banks for business bank accounts versus like going with the Ally or Chase or any big known banks?
Are you self-employed or do you have a W-2 as
I have
well?
a W-2.
Okay, so for W-2, I do like the bigger banks because that's what they understand. Someone that has a W-2 income.
Yeah.
And this is kind of an additional thing. So like you're gonna get better rates at Chase, um, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, because you fit in that box. And so I think that's probably a good fit for you with the W-2. If you go to self-employed, I'd say business bank all day long, local banks. Because the big difference is the big banks treat you like a thing that fits in the box, like, oh, the W-2, we can lend you money, all these things. A local bank, actually, you can talk to a banker and go, this is what I'm trying to do. How can we help? What can we do to figure this out? And so it's a more personal relationship, but they don't have as much bandwidth for a W-2 person per se. Or they don't have the same rates that you can get through the bigger banks with a W-2.
Okay.
And so they just never can get to that price. Um, and so I would say, do you have many residential loans right now?
Sorry. What?
I'm sorry, do you have any loans right now in your name?
No, I just have my primary. That's it.
I would talk to that bank first, and then you're probably gonna have better luck there. Now, as you start transitioning out, I'm gonna say get out of those banks because I don't bank at any of the big banks anymore. They
Okay.
just they for whatever reason, it's like a nightmare for me to get a loan there. And I'm just like, I just can't deal with it. So, but W-2, you guys, the bigger banks they have advantages for sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep. Thank you so much.
Go. Donnie, what's up, buddy? Donnie, I know you've been waiting. Let's see. Hey, Purdy, I'm gonna check into a couple other brokers too. I might be able to send you too. Let
Oh, that
me
would be awesome.
let me kind of talk to some of the people at Bigger Pockets and see who they really like. Just
Yeah, I went with like last time you said just go on Bigger Pockets, so I went there also. And I talked to like three of them. Two of them said they have done their own flips and they get these off-market deals and stuff. And then they were all good with sending it that way. But then, yeah, eventually they never sent me anything.
Let me get some people. Yeah, let me talk to a couple of people.
Okay, yeah, that'll be great.
Yeah. Donnie,
Yeah.
I can't hear you, bud.
What about this? Can you hear this?
I got you now.
All right. Uh, that so I have a contractor right now, who I'm just bringing on board, and he was basically like, "Hey, you have enough projects for me to keep me busy, if I build a whole team for you." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And he's like, and I can also get you better rates if we can hire guys that are hourly." And I was like, "Oh, I don't like hourly. I'm not a fan. I don't like the idea of that whatsoever." But the way it's working right now is he's still bidding me on a total project cost, and just the guys he's billing himself or hourly. I guess, like, do you see any red flags with that if I'm not paying for extra change orders or anything?
Well, no, because that's his cost, not yours, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, I mean, a lot of the guys I know that I hire hourly. They have guys on staff that they're running around. I'm just not committing. They're giving me a fixed bid.
Okay. Cool.
It's yeah, I would say that's totally good. I mean, I will say sometimes I look at we have hourly guys on our apartment turns, and man, we do get stuff done cheaper, but you have to like control them and run people behind them, and it's a lot of work too.
Yeah. I,
So
the one benefit I will say, I do have a project manager, an on-site project manager for these projects, who's not associated with the GC and or his subs. So he's working directly for me. So I'm figuring, like, if I have that person who can kind of keep them in order anyway, maybe it's not as big of a problem, but I don't know.
you know what? At the end of the day, if he wants to staff up to do it and it's not your dime, I think it's all good, right? It's
Yeah.
yeah, I wouldn't mind if my guys had more hourly because then they always have bodies there. But most of the generals that we work with, especially our affordable one, they usually have a they're they're doing a lot of the work self-performed outside of electrical, plumbing, HVAC, roofing. But they are doing like floor installs. Um, they set all the cabinets because, for them, how they look at it is like, well, if the cabinet company's charging $50 a box, I can have my guy do it in 20 minutes. I'm getting charged $10.
Right.
And
Right.
so, those things I don't have a problem with at all because I mean they just need to make money.
Right. That makes sense. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, that was the only flag I had. Other than that, I've actually brought my operation out to Los Angeles now. So if anyone else out in LA, besides Drew, because I'm gonna buy some deals from Drew, but if anyone else is out here, let's chat.
Hey, there's all sorts of people in California in our group right now.
Yeah, yeah, it's growing.
Yeah, man, that Newport Beach flip must have got people's attention or something. We had a
Oh
surge. We
man,
had a surge of Californians come in.
I can't wait to see the next one.
Oh, we'll do something down there for sure. I'm just trying to get my right now. Trying to. We'll tell you guys financing a $7 million deal is it's a pain in the butt. Oh, and you know what? I'm gonna do a call about this too. Speaking of which, these freaking hard money lenders, and I'll end at this because we've been on for a while. They are used car salesmen calling you all the time. Holy
Hmm.
crap, these people lie.
Yeah.
Like, I've just been taking their calls just to like kind of get. I'm like, what's going on here? Because my phone's been ringing off the hook. So I'm like, they come in hot. Oh, remember? I think I told someone I was like, hey guys, I might have a good new lender. What a nope. Uh, used car salesman for sure. It's they come in with their lowest rate, but you can never get that after I grilled these guys. I was like, so what you're telling me is I have to buy a deal at 25% loan to value to get that loan. And they're like, well, no. I'm like, well, that's basically what you told me. I'm like, and dude, you shouldn't be doing this to people. I kind of was like, you guys should not be doing this to people. Like, people have performas. They need to know their numbers. I'm a lender myself. They're like, oh, well, you're a lender? I'm like, yeah. And you know what? We tell people our rates. And you should tell people your rates. Because everything that you said in the first 10 minutes isn't actually factual. And so just I'm gonna make like a little list of I have them on Project Flip for you guys already. I was trying to figure out if I could record a call with one of these guys, but I don't know if that's going to go poorly as far as what you can do or not. Um, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to record a call and then send it to AI, and they'll give you guys like a tip transcript. But there's you guys how we dig in digging into them really will save you a bunch of time because a lot of these guys are not quoting stuff that's accurate whatsoever. So, um, and I learned that when I was chatting with them last week. I was like, wow, this is what people are dealing with. No wonder. This is terrible.
Wait, on the note of doing something in SoCal, I was just I'm assuming you'll be at Bigger Pockets again this year in Vegas.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Do you
I,
typically try to organize a meetup for the group around that as well?
that's what I'm working on. So, yes. Well, what I think I'm going to do, and I got to talk to the boss lady about this, is, honestly, these booths are kind of a waste of money there. And because I just talk to anybody anyways. And so I think what we're going to do is like take the money for a booth and actually rent somewhere cool out.
That's a good idea.
So
That's a way better idea.
Yeah.
I was like, no one wants to come to the booth. Let's just get everyone to come hang out and invite. So yes, I'm working on something. And Vegas will make it a lot easier. I remember we tried doing it in Orlando and it was a little tough. But there's lots of things to do in Vegas. So yes, I will be. We're gonna try to figure something out cool.
Cool.
But yeah, it should be a good time.
Love it. Can't wait. I'm now buying my ticket to BBCon. Just changed me.
It's not too bad, you guys. It's really not actually. It's like $900 for the weekends, I think.
Yeah, it's not bad at all.
No, I mean it should be a good time. So and good people there.
Love it.
So
it was a really good deal in Mexico because that even included your hotel.
Oh,
a
don't
lot
get
of
me
people
started.
didn't think that way though.
I
Yeah.
know, it's crazy. Like how I heard it was like half the size because so many Americans don't have their passports or just couldn't think ahead of like that this is actually a better deal because it's going to cost a lot more. I'm like SoCal's driving distance from Vegas, but it's still going to cost me a lot more because the hotel, food, drinks are all separate, whereas in Cancun it was all included.
Yeah, it's a lot of people kind of backpack it into and bigger, which that's what I love about it, right? They're like, I really want to go to this thing, so they kind of like are getting 10 people for a house and they're kind of crashing hard to make it work. Um, and that's actually why I really do enjoy going to BPCon. You're like talking to people that really just want to learn. And so yeah, I think that's kind of it didn't go great though. That last one.
I loved
That
it
was
though.
cool. So, but I don't know if they'll do Mexico ever again.
That's a shame.
And then cool. Well, you guys, I think we're done with all the questions as far as I can tell. Oh, hey, Wendy, are you on?
Yes, I was
Can you
just
do
gonna
me a
ask you.
favor? Can you
Yeah.
text me? It's so funny. I can show you my screen share. I have these. I don't think I have the right email for you. Can you retext me your email?
Yep, I will.
Okay.
Okay.
And I will literally press send right away. Yeah, I have it.
Okay.
I'll show you. And by the way,
No worries.
you're getting two emails. One
Okay.
is something where I have a little process and tips form in there for you too.
Uh-oh. You cut
No,
out.
it's good. It's so basically one's the email that I sent to Dave Meyer a long time ago when I was talking to him about it, teaching him. And then the other one is like a list of all the things, and then we can talk about that. So it's good for you to read this other thing.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, if you could just, I don't know.
I'll text you right away.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Train of thought I often get on, which is,
Hello?
wondering.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna.
Oh.
Oh,
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Thanks all.
Thanks, guys.